Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Solihull. It's Premier League time once again here on Free Sports. And we have got another week of enthralling pool action coming your way. These are tonight's fixtures alongside the league table. Mark Farnsworth tops it currently, having played 4. And after tonight, we all have all of our players, or most of them at least, having played 4 games, and quite an exciting night in store for us. Neil Raybone will take on Craig Marsh first up, then we've got a repeat of the World Championship final as Simon Ward faces off against Ben Davis. And it's Craig against Ben, Simon against Neil, and we're out for another week, but stay with us because this foursome has the potential to produce some fireworks. Stephen Jameson with you on the commentary, and back by popular demand after last week, Dan Davey. Good evening, mate.
Hello. So, great first match. Craig Marsh, 2017 world champion, against our, I think, current number 2, is he, in the rankings, Neil Raybone. So, should be a really good match. I think typically, like, Neil's a little bit more, he's a bit slower, a bit more methodical than Craig. So, in theory, you'd say the 30-second shot clock would perhaps favour Craig, but time will tell. You see Neil just so as usual, sort of calm self, just waiting to get into the action. He's quite a reserved character. Certainly not the loudest of these two if you're on a night out. Craig's quite a man to beat when it comes to that. He's a hell of a character. Does a really good bat out of hell, actually. Don't know if he's actually a really good singer, Craig, although he won't.
Well, he is from Wales, and it tends to be the way, isn't it? It seems to be something in the water in those parts. But
yep.
In terms of Neil being quiet, that may be true, but it really does. It doesn't translate onto the table because
no, he's a machine on the table.
His form in the past 12 months has been remarkable at times.
Well, the rankings don't lie. I say this all the time, and when people have opinions, and it's great to have an opinion on things, but the rankings don't lie. The rankings just show who is consistently the best player. You know, you can argue about, well, when so-and-so's at his best, he's the... Well, number 2 in the rankings, and two or 3. It depends if you go on the normal rankings or the provisional rankings, but he's top 3, and rightly so, and we'll probably see why tonight. Good opening shot from Craig, just pushing that yellow onto the side cushion. We're going to see, obviously, Craig's gone reds. No, not the... If we can just have a look again, I don't think it's the easiest finish he's ever going to have, but they all go. It's just the yellow nearest to the left middle pocket. It is going to be his sort of key to the frame. I think he's going to try and land on that now, potentially off of this yellow into the top left corner.
Yeah, Craig in high spirits. The 3 Welsh players tonight all came up together. Ben Davis, Simon Ward and Craig Marsh, all good pals. And it's a strange dynamic, isn't it, when you're playing in such a competitive environment, but they are all very good mates.
Yeah, but I think they're used to that by now. Obviously now, in the last sort of 12, 18 months, as Paul's taken off, they're getting obviously TV coverage and a lot more coverage than before. But you, in just the Welsh Tour events, the youth and juniors, local events, even just practicing together, they literally know each other's games inside out. So they all play a very similar game, I think, in terms of like stylistically. They're very attacking. They don't, safety is literally the last resort kind of thing. But they're all great players to watch, and a real tough one to say, more than any other country, who is the best Welsh player, because there's a handful that, if you were to lock them all in a room for a week, the 1 to 5 could be anything. It could be any order, So but Craig and the last 2 world champions have come from from Wales, Ben this year and Craig the year before.
Yeah, Craig is such a lovely player to watch when he's in full flow. Really, really natural cue artist.
Really, he's got everything. He's got the fundamentals. He's got the he is a he's had back-to-back 147s, which is some achievement. I mean, just to have one is one thing, but
I know quite a few of the players on the tour have been striving just to get that 147. Never mind 2 on the spin, and Craig has reeled off the first frame of the night, and he's done it in no time at all. He is in pretty good nick. He always seems to be. He got to the semi-final of the European Open in very recently against Ben Davis, where he was defeated 7-3, and you can see there, very rare he doesn't make at least the last 16 of an event, and it's about that consistency which we said. And the last tour event was in Coventry at the Europeans. The professional and the Open got to at least the quarter-final of both, which is saying something. It really is. He's in good form at the moment.
Yeah, with as Paul's grown, the strength in depth sort of gone up massively, in my opinion, in the last couple of years, and to that sort of level of consistency's really I mean, next year he'll really sort of reap the benefits of that on the rankings. But qualified by right, I think, and he wasn't a wild card pick, or he qualified by being, I think he's ranked number 5. So yeah, like I say, you can't argue with rankings really.
And you can't really argue too much with that break. I think one thing that the 3 Welsh players in particular all have in common is they've all got an absolute hammer of a break. One thing that's not come out too well for Craig is he's got a difficult first shot. He's got an amazing spread, as you can see. He's opted for red, so we almost passed over the difficult nature of his first frame on the board there, because we said he'd had a problem ball by the left middle pocket, and it wasn't a problem for him. He made it look ridiculously easy.
That's what these top players do. They make the tricky finishes look easy. He had one bad ball. He needed to get on it, obviously, but he needed to get on it well. Can't be too close. You don't want to be too far away. Played it perfectly. Knocked the ball in down the cushion, and that was frame over. Very similar frame, to be fair. A red near the left middle. I think his plan will be to double that ball. If he can get nicely on it, the double's a fairly easy shot, but needs to leave himself the right angle. You can see where he's just pointing his cue there. He'd love to be just above the black, just to the right of the black as we look on the screen. All about the pace on this shot. The pot's easy enough. I think he's overhit it slightly. Yeah, you can see from his face he's not too happy with it.
That cueing is awkward as well, potentially.
It is. The other option he's got now, because he's overhit it, you can always just try and land on it now, but this is last resort. You must come further than the white was on that last shot, and I think that is perfect. That is perfect, because he's only got one pocket that the black goes in easily, and that's this middle pocket that he's about to double the red into. So he's got the perfect angle to play this. He just needs to make sure he doesn't hit that yellow on the way back. I don't think he will, but big shot, early doors. Great shot, and he's come a bit short. He's just made sure of the pot. He was just so worried about getting that red. He's kind of not too worried about position, but for someone of Craig's ability, I expect him to get this.
Yeah, he's going to feather this into the middle. There he goes.
Yeah, and Neil's not had a look in yet.
He hasn't. He's played one shot, and it was a break that was pretty good, but ended up dry, and all of a sudden he faces a 2-0 deficit. And I mean, this is the nature of the Premier League. We've barely seen anything of Neil, and he's already up against it as Craig has stolen a march in the early going here. But we mentioned that Neil's been in incredible form in recent months, and there you see it. Final of the English Open, which he won 7-6 against Boyle, who we will see in the Premier League in the next couple of weeks, and it rules out the tournaments that he had before that, where he was getting to the semi-final. It seemed minimum at least.
He's such a tough player to beat. You see there, actually, interestingly, every single match he's lost on there has been close. He's got to at least 5 frames. You know, so he just doesn't. He's such a hard nut to crack. You know. But that's what you get, is cue balls on a string, nothing flamboyant, he just keeps a simple game simple. It almost went in off there.
Very nearly. And I think the one thing that in the last year or so that would probably annoy Neil a little bit was his performance in the Champions Cup. Didn't really showcase what he can do to his full potential there. He'd have been eyeing to go a little bit further, I think.
Yeah, it would have been one of the pre-tournament favourites, as he is for every tournament, but I think that's Paul, really. That's Paul these days. You can't expect to do well in every tournament. There's such a luck element to the game as well, which is one of the things that makes it so exciting. But from a perfectionist point of view, you kind of feel hard done by far too often in matches where you feel like you've lost and kind of feel like you haven't really made. I think we saw it last week with Liam Dunster. He lost a match, missed one pot from open play, but his opponent missed 3. Yet because of run of the ball, wasn't potting off the break, he's ended up losing the match.
You'll be delighted you stuck up for him there.
Am I sticking up for him? Got rubbish break, Liam, just sort it out, mate. No, it's really interesting. You see, we obviously, as weeks unfold, you see how important the break is. Liam he'd made a ball off every break in his first 2 matches, and yet last week 0 from his first 7. Just madness, and it's just so crucial, so key. But if anyone's got a formula out there to let us know how you can make a ball off the break every time, you'll be a very rich person.
Yeah, absolutely. Neil is looking to make pretty light work of these yellows and get himself on the board. You can see there the shot clock ticking away. It's 30 seconds, which isn't a long time at all. Hasn't seen anyone running around the table just yet, but it does keep players on their toes.
It does. I think Neil's in good position here. He just needs to. You can see where he's just pointed the white there. His cue. He's just run. I think that's about perfect. He looked at the option of going near the middle pocket. Obviously, he stunned up table instead because I think the natural angle following it through was going too close to the middle. But Macy and play a cannon here. Doesn't have to. Just depends how he sees it. Cannon just nudge into the black and bring it out slightly, or he can just stun up into the gap. Well, he has nudged into it, and that's come out nice. I think he's okay. A bit hampered cueing. He doesn't look happy with it, does he? But I think he's one of those players. He always likes to pull a little face, doesn't he, Neil?
It's slightly awkward for him. I think it's quite thin as well, so he's going to send the white ball on the run.
One thing Neil does really well, his pattern plays is pretty much perfect. When he's got 7 or 8 balls in the finish, you'll never see him take.
Oh, where's that white ball?
Oh, wow!
Goodness
Oh dear!
me.
Oh, that's 3-0 staring you in the face there. That is literally, it's not. Has he seen it? Look at that.
Said it was thin and the white was going on the run. Don't think he thought it was going that far.
I think he'd have felt like that was in. A slightly awkward cueing as well. Still expecting to get this, but you're 2-0 down. Yeah, it's nicely done.
He's got away with one a little bit there as Neil, but he is on the board, and that's the bare minimum really from that frame. If he'd have gone 3-0 down, he'd have been really struggling. But that's an important frame for Neil Rayburn to win. Take a look at the stats so far. Pretty straightforward. There's really only one stat there, which is the difference between the 2 players, and that was Neil's dry break in the opening frame. Craig reverse dishing. He's not missed a ball yet, and he looks very, very dangerous.
Yeah, neither of them have missed, and I don't really think, to be honest, either of them have run out of position. Neil came very close to it.
Very close.
Came close to disaster, really, but he's just hung in there, and it's just a fine line between. I mean, that would definitely have been 3-0 if that white ball would have gone in. So here we are, Marsh to break. He'll want another ball like last time. He's got a couple. He's got 3, I think. It's a really good break from Craig, but you see him just point to the red and yellow near the right middle there. He's like, "Yep, that's my problem," as he walked past.
This is true master at work. When his break is good, it really is one of the best around. I know when he won the World Championships a couple of years ago, the word from that tournament from the players on the circuit seemed to be, no one could stop him because he just potted about 5 off every break.
Yeah, he's such an aggressive player as well that once he gets his break going, he really is hard to stop. That's a great shot as well there. You can see that really is a sign of confidence. To take that long yellow, as we see Neil just tapped his leg there in appreciation, but it's such a sign of confidence. Maybe a snooker background, just feels a bit more confident with those longer pots than most. But he's taken a more difficult first shot. Could easily have gone reds and gone into these, but yellows was a more difficult opener, but it's given him a better chance to win the frame.
Oh, great shot.
Great shot from Craig.
It's not quite ended up kindly for him, has it?
No, he's still got a finish on here, but it could have landed better. So he's having a little study. Might see him use his extension here.
Each player gets one extension of frame of 15 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but can make all the difference.
Yeah, 30-second shot clock, which is great to watch. Probably horrible to play. But this is the tough part here because he needs to hold this if he can, and land on this yellow into the left middle. But I think he's just a bit thin on it. May see him go into it. Ideally, if he was closer to it, he could play a bit of a soft screw, but it's much harder to do. He's going for the plant.
Wow. Hasn't he made that look easy?
Hasn't he, mate? Look, he took the words out of my mouth. There are quite a bit of distance between the two balls there, and they may have been fairly in line. They were fairly straight, but you've still got to cue those really well. It's just as difficult it's more difficult than taking a long pot. It's great start from Craig. This has probably been as good a start as we've seen to any match in this Premier League so far.
Yeah, Craig means business tonight, doesn't he? He has really come to play, and he's going to race into a 3-1 lead here. Well, Neil Rayburn has not really made a mistake, but he finds himself 3-1 down. Craig Marsh is on the rampage in the Premier League. Welcome back to Solihull Premier League pool with you on Free Sports. Craig Marsh there is 3-1 up and in control of this match against Neil Raybone.
He looks very zoned in. He did this in the World Championships when he won it that year. He's always been known a little bit for having a bit of a temper on him, Craig. And when he was in the World Championships, he just had that bit. It's as if someone had got hold of him and said, "Don't you realise, do you know what I mean, if you could just tweak, if you could just sort of sort your temperament out, you are literally a world champion in waiting," kind of thing. And funny enough, he won it. So, but he seems to have that little steely determination and is just focused. Do you know what I mean?
Certainly do. Well, Neil will be pleased with this. He's made a ball of this break, which means he's at the table. And we're yet to see Neil Raybone really make a mistake in open table. Neither player has missed yet. The only slight error, which is pretty uncontrollable, as it was a pretty good break, came on the first break of the match from Neil, where he broke dry and left a fairly routine-ish clearance for Craig. But that's all relatively speaking, of course. It'd be pretty difficult for a few players.
I think we're getting a masterclass at the moment of how Paul's played at the very top level. We've had 4 frames so far, 4 clearances from the break. Is you know, it doesn't always work like that. Obviously, if you're watching for the first time, it's and to be fair as well, sometimes you can break 4 times and you get 4 easy clearances come out. A couple of them have been tricky, and Craig especially has had a couple that, you know, that really did need a bit of work doing, and a bad ball needed to be got at, and he's played really well so far. Literally hasn't put a foot wrong. Neither of them have.
Yeah, as I say, the only real false note was that opening break from Neil, but that's harsh because it was a good spread and sometimes it just doesn't quite go for him. But he's got a potential clearance on in next to no time at all here. Neither player hanging around.
No, it's really quick fire stuff, and see Neil just double checking the angle he wants there. Straight down, just wants to bring the cue ball out sort of roughly between where the 2 reds are now, to be fair, or in that line at least. Left himself a bit more distance than Neil wanted, but he was just guaranteeing leaving himself the right angle.
Yep, this red into the left middle, followed by the black into the bottom right.
For 5 perfect frames.
See there, the shot clock ticking. He's only just using over half of it, and both players have done this. It's been rapid fire. It's exactly what we expected when we saw tonight's lineup. And there we go. It's 3-2. And Neil Raybone is staying in contention here.
Yeah, we've seen it. Neil's he's a head of IT sales for a living, and we've got Craig in the other. He's a manager of a bookies. So he's in and around sports all day. He loves his sports and stuff. But Neil's actually got a table at home. He's had it for a couple of years, so he's funny enough, you know, his ranking has shot up in the last couple of years since I've seen the pictures and stuff as well. It really does look nice. He's got like a little. He's literally got the perfect setup.
His own personal crucible.
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah. See the head-to-heads there. Neil Raybone won them both. Against Craig Marsh, they probably would have played each other more times in sort of more regional events, but in the big events, Neil's had the advantage so far. So Craig again. Oh, we've seen a first try.
And look at the spread. Oh, that yellow's going to go in,
No,
is
it's
it?
not.
No.
Not quite, no.
Wow.
But there's problems. Problems near that top middle as we look at it. Little cluster over there.
There you
Neil's
see
chance.
the sort of break that Craig can pull out. The movement on those balls is sensational.
Yeah, that was a harsh dry break, if there is such a thing. I know the players always feel like it is, but when you watch it, when you've got the benefit of these replays, you really can see, especially on the slow motion replays, just how well they're getting into the balls. And Craig hit those really well. It was harsh not to pot a ball off the break there.
The black going into the middle nearly saved him as well, because it would have been a re-rack if that had happened.
Yeah, he'd have been wishing that in. He really would.
But as I say, it's Neil in, and he's gone yellows, and as you say, not without their problems here.
No, he ideally didn't want that to go into the red now, because he's effectively got a... he'll have control of this frame because he's got that pocket covered now, so he's favouriting this frame if it turns tactical, which I think it's going to. But as we see, Neil trying to just take the other pocket, so looks really here as if Craig is in all sorts of trouble. And to be fair, I think he is.
There's a reason it looks that way. Because he is. Well, his natural game is always to attack. He is one of the most aggressive players on the circuit. It's not that he can't play this sort of frame, he just doesn't like to.
Oh, that's really harsh. That's unlucky.
And immediately you see playing the most attacking option possible.
But it's the right time to do it because Neil's still got that yellow and red tied up together at the top of the table. So you can see Craig was trying to play the red off of the yellow, and that would have opened the frame up for Craig. But it's the right time to do it because, like I say, Neil's still got a problem area, even though he has opened those two yellows out.
And Neil does have to play safe again.
Yeah, and again, Neil firmly in control in this frame. Craig really is going to have to work hard to make himself an opening. Interestingly, Craig as well. We I like to do this and get a few interesting facts from the players. Craig used to play table tennis for Wales at under 16 level, aged sort of 13, 14, 15. Really, really good at table tennis. I've seen him as well. He's absolute. His hand-eye coordination is ridiculous.
one of those players who could take up any racket sport in the world, I bet.
Yeah, I think you see it with a lot of these players. If you kind of hand-eye coordination, if you're good at one thing, you tend to not necessarily be great at other things. But I think if you do excel at one sport, you tend not to be rubbish at anything, really.
Well, Craig did get his start in port. He used to be a snooker man in his early days.
Yeah,
and a very, very good one as well. We mentioned earlier on. He once had back-to-back maximums, which is incredible, really.
Yeah, it's quite paddy. He used to practice a lot, I think, with Matthew Stevens from Wales, and really was. I mean, just couldn't quite make it, but the talent's there. You can see from his cue action, he's got a snooker background. He's got that. I think they're very different games, snooker and pool. A lot more different than people maybe think at first. They're very different skill sets, but the basics obviously are the same. You need really good fundamentals, like really good cue action is a lot more important for snooker, but not so much of a brain, in my opinion. It's I think the tactics are a lot more straightforward in snooker, whereas pool really, every frame's like a little puzzle. Do I go for the clearance? Do I play safe? Do I play safe and give and risk letting my opponent go for the clearance? There's all sorts of different conundrums that you have certainly in these types of frames as well, as and when to go aggressive.
Yeah, perfect example. I was just about to say is this frame here. There's so many different elements to it.
Yeah, we can see Craig there. He's trying to. You always want to get your other bad balls out whilst Neil's still got a problem area. So Neil's only really got one problem now, which is sort of the same problem he's had all frame up in this top of the table and amongst the two reds. But the sooner he can get into that.
He's going for it now, I think.
No, he's just
no.
going to try and cover the pocket. But so he didn't want it on the cushion. He'd have loved to have left that closer to the pocket so that if he gets the chance, he could have just screwed straight into it. You always want to go into your bad balls when you've got other options. So when he goes into it, he's got 2 yellows that he can be on because they're covering 2 other pockets. Last thing you want to be doing is going into them last. But Craig, I mean, good luck here. I think half the time with these, you're just waiting for your opponent to force the issue. That's almost Craig's best chance, is that Neil tries to finish the frame too early and leaves Craig a chance or a sniff to get back into the frame. So you're almost kind of trying to stop your opponent from being able to
Shot clock ticking.
Yeah.
Haven't heard it too many times, and Neil's opened up that yellow.
Yeah, he's got an opening now because that's not great from Neil. That's not great. Because if the red at the top goes past the yellow into the top left corner, most of Craig's balls go. But even if it doesn't, I mean, Craig's got options. He's got 2 reds on the left-hand side cushion that he can play off of the yellow to open that pocket up. Oh no, he hasn't hit it. He hasn't hit it. He was trying to cut the red into the middle and play the skill shot. I mean, but he's taken his eye off the pot.
Oh, you can't believe it.
No, we see a bit of emotion there from Craig. That's the old Craig we know. Having a bit of a go at himself.
Time running.
It's such an uncharacteristically poor shot, that.
It's a weird shot, yeah, it's not your normal sort of error, to be honest. He's, you know, I tell you what it is, he's just thinking about the next shot too much. He's not giving that shot enough respect. You see Craig here is a fairly simple finish now to get back to 3 each.
Yeah, it's going to be 3-all, I think, before Craig knows it. And, well, we did think the first missed pot might be crucial. And I think we can say it is. Even before Neil Raybone gets these yellows away, which are now very available for him.
Yeah, he just needs to be careful because he's going to play the plant now, yellow onto yellow. Needs to make sure that the yellow doesn't get in amongst the red, you know, and hide itself behind the red. So could even potentially play it off of the red, but what you certainly don't want to be doing is playing it. You want to be playing it dead centre, really, so it just stays where it is, and then it's just a simple screw back. It's almost disastrous.
He's got away with it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the issue he's got as well is that the black isn't a gimme from the bottom half of the table. In fact, I think he might even have to be
I think he just needs
fair
to
way up the table to do it.
because he's going to be screwing off of the red now, so he just doesn't want to go near the 2 reds at the top, and he's fine.
Yeah, he's played it well.
Played it nicely, but yeah, just thicker contact on the red, and he could have gone towards that other middle pocket. But good finish from Neil, and still yet to see a missed ball or a mistake from Neil, really.
Yeah, we didn't think we were going to see one from Craig all match the way he'd started, but a really almost weird error from Craig Marsh there has let Neil Raybone in our first tactical frame goes the way of the Englishman, and we're all square. It's the next frame, which will be a crucial one, as whoever gets it is guaranteed at least a point from this match. It's a race to 5, but we can have a draw in the Premier League. So 4 points, or 4 frames rather, will secure you 1 point. And then it is a bit of a shootout next to see if it will be 4-4 or 5-3 to either of these 2 gentlemen.
Yeah, this is a big week for all the players as well, because they've all only played 2 matches so far, I think, apart from Ben, who's played 4. So it's a real chance to move. You know, it's like a move. Ben especially could find himself 4 points clear at the top of the table if he can win both his matches tonight. You know. Big break from Neil. Really needs a ball. I don't think he's got one. It's dry, but there's problems. It's not an easy finish. Second dry break of the match for Neil.
I think we're about to see if that miss from Craig is still affecting him, because you could see it was still in his head, the way he was at his seat there before, at the end of the frame, and now he'll just be hoping to get himself back in amongst the balls to forget all about it.
Yeah, I don't think he's got the. I don't think he's got the same action on the balls there that Craig got in his break. There were a couple of balls flying around the table, but Craig seemed to have like a whole bunch of them just screaming up the table, and I don't think we saw that there from Neil. He maybe didn't hit them as well as he has done in the past.
Dispatches that yellow really well.
I think the yellow into the top right corner obviously goes. May not look like it obviously goes from this sort of angle that we're looking at, but it obviously does, even if he's only got like 3/4 of a pocket. It's nicely done. Just needs to be careful because obviously the two yellows at the left, they're kind of not blocking each other, but it just needs tight cue ball control, and it's going to be getting from one end of the table to the other that could be his undoing in this finish.
Oh, he's gone for it there. And he's shaking his head.
Yeah, he's just short of where he wanted to be. So he wanted to be much further up table, and now he's going to risk running into the red that he's closest to, which he doesn't want to do. Whether or not he can stun it enough to get it back round the angles, I'm not quite sure, but I think he's in a bit of trouble here.
Statue called.
That clock's ticking as well. He hasn't got much time to make his mind up as to what he wants to do. You can see there, he's pointing his cue exactly where he wants to be, but getting there's tough.
It is. This is a tough shot.
He's playing this with bottom left. Needs to miss the red first. He's missed it as he overhit it. So you see on the overhead there, this. Yeah, so
Does that cut?
it does cut, but I think we might see him even play the double into this bottom left because it's the red's making it a bigger pocket almost. That's a great shot. Is it? Oh, get your hand out of the way, Craig.
Well, there you see it. Still waving at us from the jaws of the pocket.
Do you know what?
So close.
That was unlucky. I mean, it was so tough to find the gap between the Neil's red and the corner of the knuckle. He really should have. It looked almost as if the red was making it a really big pocket, but obviously not. I feel a bit harshly done by there.
Yeah, Niels uses extension straight away to figure this frame out. It should be, with only two yellows, relatively straightforward for him. What he's got to do, though, is stop Craig from getting back in, because if he can pop one of these yellows, frame's all but guaranteed. Neil has got a problem with that yellow over the pocket. It's what's saving Craig at the minute.
Yeah, and we see Craig's just trying to sort of protect the finish. He wanted that yellow to come out from the red. He would have loved it to be just to the right of the red so that Neil can't play the same shot again. But as it is now, Neil's got quite a big target that he can, I mean, anywhere over on the top left-hand side of the table, and he's snooker Craig. So, although Craig's got this bottom right-hand corner pocket covered, it's almost advantage Neil.
Now, can Craig see this?
No, well, he can definitely see it, but I don't think he can see the potting angle, can he? Surely not. If he has, that's a terrible mistake from Neil. No, but he's just tried to cover the pocket, and that's a good shot from Craig. Because there isn't an easy red. If Neil had an easy starter up table, it would be different. But the only thing Craig would have loved to have covered this pocket properly. And the top left that he's just played, and he's almost made that a big pocket for Neil. But at the moment, I think it's going to take a real delicate. He's trying to lay a snooker up to double kiss. Wanted to hit that a little bit further to the left, and then it would have hidden behind the other red. But Nicely done from Craig.
With both players having used their extensions, this safety battle, the tactical frame becomes a touch quicker, and I just wonder if Neil's thinking about going game here. He might just have wanted to get a bit of control at the top of the table, but he might consider going for it.
No, he's looking again to see if he can snook it. You see exactly where he's pointing his cue. Is where he wants to leave that cue ball, and if you're trying to get the 2 shots out of Craig so that he can, once he gets his 2 shots, he can then play a, he'll have a free shot with his first shot, so he can play the red onto the yellow, and that'll obviously sort of pretty much win in the frame. But he just needs to get those 2 shots out of Craig, and he's just run a little bit too far there. Made that quite, yeah, that was quite an easy swerve to play, but he wanted to, didn't really want to leave that. He wanted to have Craig need to use a side cushion. Crucial frame. I mean, winner of this 4-3, especially for Craig because he's breaking next as well. And
Neil here doesn't have as big a target now to hide behind, with those 2 reds now pretty much an open table at the top.
no, it's getting more difficult for him. He needs to stay away from that middle pocket, that corner pocket. He's played that really well. Again, an easy hit from Craig, for Craig here, but it's just Neil's trying to give himself that opportunity to. He needs an angle to play a skill shot, because he's going to struggle to get the 2 shots out of Craig, especially Craig knowing his angles as well as he does. It's all about the pace. Oh, did he just flick that? He missed it. Oh, he's not sure. Did he hit it? Oh, wow.
Couldn't have been closer. Could not have been closer. Well, Neil's got his shot and a visit out of Craig Marsh, and now this finish should be pretty routine. Still got a little bit of work to do, but with 6 balls in the black on the table and only 1 yellow remotely in the way, you would fancy him from here.
Yeah, his only saving grace is this this red on the left-hand side cushion, but Neil will aim to get on that as soon as he possibly can. If he'd have had slightly more angle, he may have got onto it now. So we may see him take the plant first, and then try and leave himself an angle to. He's made the skill shot there, which is fine as long as he's got the angle that he needs, and you can see from his face there he's more than happy with that. So I'll just be taking the white ball towards the middle pocket. Don't go anywhere near it, Neil, but just towards the middle pocket, and if you can get nicely on this red, it's pretty much frame over.
We're yet to see Neil really make a mistake. Still
hasn't missed a ball. Bit of a tester at 3 each in such an important match, and he needs to play it with a bit of pace as well.
We'll give it a little bit of a wobble, but it's there, and Neil's going to get his first point of the night here, I think.
He's played it well. It's a decision. He can screw back and play the black into the same pocket, but I think the option here will be to just he's screwing back. He could have just topped it through and played the black into the middle. He's left that a little bit short. Wanted to come a lot further out than that, but this shouldn't be any problem for a player of Neil's class.
There it goes.
Heart of the pocket.
No mistakes from Neil Raybone, who secures a point in the Premier League against Craig Marsh. And he'll be looking, of course, to get all 3. That may depend on the break of the Welshman, which he'll be hoping can save him in this next frame. It's got him out of trouble plenty of times before.
It has, yeah, and this such a big part of his game. It kind of always seems to get him out of trouble, especially when you're playing against him. You sort of, you make a mistake, and it seems every time you make a mistake, he'll break and clear afterwards. Just a huge break. Rarely doesn't make a ball off the break, but needs a ball more than ever now, Craig.
And I'm sure quite a few players can testify that's generally when it tends to not work for you.
It really is, yeah. But we mentioned last week about these being kind of like 6-pointers as well, and it's not so. Craig's only got a point to gain here, but Neil's actually already on a point, and he gets 3 points for a win. So made a ball, made 2 balls,
Made 3.
made 3, and that's a fairly good finish. He's good. I mean, reds or yellows, you'd probably be okay on here. I think the yellows are slightly more difficult opener. But the white almost got kicked in off. But yeah, these really are like 6-pointers because he's effectively taking 2 points off of Neil, even though he's only gaining 1 for himself.
Extension called.
It's an absolute hammer of a break, that, from Craig.
It's a massive break, yeah.
Almost as if the frustrations of the last couple of frames, which haven't really gone his way, have just been taken out in one swing of his cue.
I think it tells the story of so many matches. Now Craig has potted 7 balls off of 4 breaks. Neil's only potted 2. Yet we've got a couple of missed balls from Craig and 0 from Neil. So it kind of, it really is like a leveller. It's a big part of the frame, but he's looking good here, and he's in prime position to take a point.
I think one thing we have noticed is, yes, how important the break is, and if these players with the big breaks play well outside of just breaking well, then they're almost unbeatable at this format especially.
Yeah, you just have to try and stay with them, really. You can't beat a top player who's breaking well. You've just got to try and stay with them. I mean, you don't hear them that often, but you do hear these stories now and again. I've kind of got one against Simon Ward in the semi-finals of a Welsh Tour event a few years ago, and I was 5-0 down, and I didn't have a.
Oh
my God.
Goodness me,
Craig, what have you done? Oh wow. It just overran position. I mean, we were talking about other things. It's like that's so uncharacteristic. It was slightly awkward cue, and he had a long bridge there, so he wasn't cueing as he would normally cue, but he would miss one of the. I mean, he would never have missed that if he was 5-2 up, or that's just the pressure of the situation has got to him there, and he's just. It happens to everybody, even the best. I was just saying, it was 5-0 down against Simon Ward once, and I only had 2 breaks. Literally sat down for about half an hour whilst he just destroyed me. And it can happen with these top players. We've seen it here with Neil. It's a real masterclass. He was 3-1 down, but he just kept his head, as always. And even when he is sort of wincing a little bit, and he shows a bit of emotion, you can see it there. He doesn't let it affect his next shot. He has got such a good temperament. Just because he doesn't, might look like he's having a bit of a whinge or a moan, he really has got one of, if not, I mean, he's definitely top 2 or 3 when it comes to temperaments in the game, and it's such a big part of it, especially when there's so much luck involved. That's not the best.
He's overrun that.
Yeah, and he's well out of position. He's going to have to play this yellow into the left middle as we look at it. Or the middle that's at the bottom of your screen, and he's going to have to leave himself, I think, a difficult positional shot on the yellow closest to the black. Well, he's hiding behind the yellow. Delicate one. Played it well.
Time out.
Played it very well.
Total
And the
snooker,
natural
time.
angle. You see, the problem Craig's got here, if there was no yellow or no middle pocket in the way, he'd probably be hitting around about where the middle pocket is. He can't do that because the white drops down, and even if the pocket wasn't there, the yellow's in the way. So he's going to have to play this with quite a lot of side spin.
Yeah, it's tight on the cushion as well, and straight into the pocket.
Into the
One free
pocket.
shot, one visit.
It really hasn't been his match tonight so far, and I didn't think we'd be saying that the way he started in those first few frames.
He is so, you can see how angry he is. Look at him, he's absolutely fuming. See
And,
Simon Ward look on in the background.
well, Neil's had a bit of a let off there. 'Cause it was a sloppy shot, but he made up for it. And now there should be no excuses from this point for a man of Neil Raybone's quality. This should be a 5-3 win. But we'll just hold our horses, because the last time we talked in a frame, Craig Marsh
I mean, I thought
missed
it
a
was
very
over.
crucial black.
Yeah, I thought it was over. I was chalking it up. It's a good job I don't pull the trigger on the stats, you know, when I be in all sorts of trouble. So I think he's just checking there, Neil. He's going to play this with a bit of stun. He doesn't want to go near the corner pocket, but he's going to play this off of 2 cushions. So you're going to see him come off the bottom cushion, side cushion, and then over towards the left-hand side of the table. See that? He's played it lovely. Played it absolutely lovely. But if he got into it too much, the white was going towards the corner pocket. So that literally was the last bit of work he needed to do, and this is now match over. I'm actually going to... No, we better wait.
We know better than that by now. Even the best players, and Craig Marsh is definitely among those, can have inexplicable moments which work against them. Neil Raybone then is 1 shot away from 3 points in the Premier League. He's done it.
Oh, what a finish to that match. Craig will be absolutely fuming.
And I don't think there's any doubt about that. It was a phenomenal game for the first 3 or 4 frames. Craig Marsh was 3-1 up heading into the break, and he was so dominant. But Neil Raybone has turned it round. He wins it 5-3. We've got a rematch of the World Championship final coming up next as Ben Davis takes on Simon Ward. Don't go anywhere. Well, welcome back to Solihull Free Sports Premier League 2018, and we've got a rematch of the World Championship final. Simon Ward versus Ben Davis is next up in the Premier League, and well, myself and Dan Davey, we had the absolute privilege of calling that World Championship final a few months ago. Well, it's more than a few months ago now. It doesn't feel that long ago.
February, yeah.
But time has flown since then. These two have met since and remain very, very close friends and all the rest of it. But it's nice to see them rematch here in an entirely different format.
Yeah, I mean, well, last time was like a war of attrition. It was literally like a boxing match, blow for blow, set for set. It was the sets format. It was first to 4 sets, and it was nip and tuck all the way. Never more than a set in it, and they went to a deciding frame. It was a hell of a clearance from Ben in that deciding frame as well.
Both players got a shot in that deciding frame. It went tactical.
Yeah, it
obviously.
Was literally you couldn't have had a better match to commentate on. It was absolutely brilliant. But this could be over in 20 minutes.
Yeah, by contrast, the World Championship final was, I think, nearly 3 hours in the end. It was a marathon, whereas this very much is a sprint, which, weirdly, for two players who played so well over the sets format, suits them, actually.
Yeah, both quite fluent players. Both certainly can play quickly. I think of the 10 players in this Premier League, the shot clock's going to affect these two the least, really. They're both quite comfortable playing quickly, and I think sometimes it helps you. Sometimes I think the less you think about it, you kind of you see solutions, rather than when you've got unlimited time to think about what you're doing, you maybe sometimes look for problems. Both got absolutely hammer breaks as well.
Yeah, we'll see this. This is Simon Ward breaking first. He's made a ball. He might well make 2. He does.
Makes 3. He's just a hell of a break on him.
Yeah, we'll see this again. He has got a hammer. We actually said this in the first match when we see Craig Marsh breaking, and all 3 of these Welsh players here tonight have got absolutely fist-like breaks. They punch into the pack so hard. It's strange when they don't make a ball.
Yeah, they connect consistently well, and you rarely see players that at the top of the game that haven't got a good break, to be honest. And Simon's taken probably his most difficult ball first. Just made the red there. He's fine. Needs to come back up table. Gonna clear in the table in areas. Top of the table first. Down table to clear his final 3. It's not absolute drop-ins, but needs a bit of figuring out. But he should be fine. You always want to get that first frame on the board. Just settle your, not necessarily nerves, but just there's a difference between being nervous and not settling. Like not settling is where you just kind of, you don't feel really at ease, but being nervous, that's having the shakes. That's bricking it, and it's not. I think people get that confused sometimes. You just want to get that first frame on the board, not because you're nervous and shaking like a leaf or anything like that. These players are so experienced that they don't really get that anymore. But you always just want to get that first frame of the board, and it's hard to explain how different it feels if you can just a good finish in that first frame. And Simon's gone into a bit of trouble.
Yeah, he's tried to screw back a long old way to land on this race. He's still on it, but it's tough.
He's overhit it. He's going to cut this into the middle pocket, and he's got a bit of a saving grace here where he can just stun into the yellow next to it and hold for the red, but it's not an easy shot. I think he's overcut it.
Wow.
Cut it and bends in, and these couldn't be sat nicer. I mean, this frame's probably got about a minute left.
Yeah, if Ben was in practice mode here, you might as well have a shot clock for the entirety of the rest of the frame.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't need it. But it was a strange shot, really, from Simon. He got so into that screw shot, he screwed it back half the table.
Yeah. Well, he wanted to make sure he didn't underscrew it, so then he'd be covered, be behind the black. He didn't want to do that. So that was what he was conscious of, and that was why he overhit it. But yeah, first frame, like I say, if it was 2 each, he probably wouldn't have made that. But just that first frame, not quite settled. There's mistakes going to happen. you see it, these two have played each other so much. As juniors as well, they were literally dominant. They're kind of they're both a couple of years older than me. So when I played England juniors when I was younger, these two, I remember the first tournament I ever played. I think Ben's a couple of years older than Simon, and they both won their version of the World Championships. So you had under 16s, under 18s, and under 21s. And I think between them, Simon's got 4 world titles at junior level. Ben's got 3 at junior level, and obviously Ben, as we know, is as an adult is a double world champion. Actually won his first world title at 19 years old. To about 15 or 14 years before this year's.
Well, here we see his most recent encounters, and we mentioned the World Championship. It's so long ago now; it hasn't quite made our graphic, but there we can see the World Champion is still playing like he's at the top of his game. Quarter-final, semi-final, got to the final of the European Open as well recently in Coventry. And an interesting one towards the bottom of that list. Only about 3 or 4 weeks after the World Championship final in Bradford, the two of them met again in the Scottish professional quarter-final, and Simon actually got the win.
Yeah, and interestingly as well, that the last tour event in the professional event, Simon got the win there as well. So,
and that's going to come up dry, and I don't think Ben Davies can believe it.
No, he's hit them really well. Look at the action he gets on him. I mean, you see there just how instantly that front 4 or 5 balls come up table. I think that's the sign of someone that's really connecting well. It'll feel a bit harshly done by there, not to make a ball off the break.
Yeah, and Simon here has got the opportunity to make amends for that error of judgment in the first frame.
Yeah, one thing we won't see from Simon, we won't ever see him lose his head, lose the rag. Just doesn't happen. That really is. It really is probably his best attribute. Is no matter how well he's playing. His nickname's the Boomerang because he's come from behind so many times in matches where he's found himself 5-1 down, 4-0 down, 6-1 down. He's just known for it, and you don't do that unless you've got a top sort of temperament, mental strength. And I think in tournament play, it's even more important as well because you may win a tournament, but it's rare that you're going to win it playing brilliantly in every single match. You're always going to need that. You're always going to have that 1 or 2 matches where you have to scrape through or battle, and it doesn't come so easy. And that's why Simon's such a good tournament player.
Well, he's run into a little bit of trouble there. I'm not sure he'll be too fussed about leaving that one over the pocket. He might even been doing that deliberately.
I think he probably did. He's probably happy that didn't go in. I don't think he played it. Don't get me wrong, I've seen him go for wilder finishes, especially in his younger years, but he'll be happy that that's there, and Ben's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it was on the clearance, but his first shot saw him cannon into his problem red at the time, and it caused a bit of an issue for him. But we mentioned, didn't we, in the very first frame, that these two are some of the most attacking players around, and Ben Davies does not like playing safe.
Hates it, absolutely hates it. He's one of the best players to watch, just as a neutral, for that very reason. Even there, that's a very clever shot. He had those 2 yellows were blocking each other, so he's covered the pocket whilst getting them out. It's a really clever shot from Ben. May see Simon take on the double if he can see enough. Take on this double into the right, into the middle. I don't know if you can see right in line there. I don't know if he's looked at it.
I think Ben's played the most aggressive safety he possibly could have done that.
Get me wrong, Simon's going game here. If that goes in and he gets himself an angle,
That's come out
that's
lovely.
a great shot. That is a really, really good shot. Now this can go wrong if the red because he's going to play the plant now and he's going to screw into the red and yellow that are together. So he's going to trust a little bit to luck, but I expect this to come out nice. Oh, he doesn't need to. It goes in the middle. Well, that's tight. Good shot. Very good shot. And from absolutely nowhere, it looks like he's got an easy finish on.
Well, Ben played that safety and
Couldn't have played it any better.
he really would have been pleased with the outcome.
Yeah.
But it was a really, really good shot from Simon, and all of a sudden, as you say, it's opened right back up for him. And from this position, it would be a real surprise
As we
to
hear
see
that
him go 1.
clock
see
ticking,
him
5
go
seconds,
1-1.
4 seconds. And
The good thing for Simon is he's used to that now. He played.
Yep.
He played in the Champions Cup, got all the way to the next stage of that as well, and that won't trouble him.
no, I played. It's rare for us on the tour. We play with a 1 minute shot clock, and the Champions Cup was a bit new to us. 45-second shot clock, and this is even more brutal, 30 seconds. So, but he's got enough experience. He's like I say, if you had to, the players that can play really quickly and really well, these are probably two of them. He's had to come out. Oh, he's just about all right, but he wanted to be a bit further. He was scared he got a bit too far, because if he goes too far towards the middle, he may cover it with the yellow, but he's just about all right, I think.
Well, we saw him overcut a tricky one on the reds, but that's absolutely
He's
perfect.
all right.
Just watches the white safe, and he'll be happy with that. It's 1-1, and it's game on between the two Welshmen. And these two, as I mentioned, know each other so well. Came up very, very similar time in the game, and this is Simon's most recent record. And since the World Championship final, which of course would have been a disappointment to him, he's been very, very consistent since. And Scottish professional semi-final, where he's beaten by Liam Dunsey. All you need to do there is just take a look, really, at the names on the right-hand side, because the only people who are beating him are having to either really grind it out, or they're very, very good, and sometimes both.
Yeah, I think Simon's very good at that. He's good at, well, it may sound a bit silly, but you'll understand what I mean. He's good at beating the people that he should beat. His B game, if he doesn't play too well in the second round of a tournament, he always seems to find a way to get the win. You know, and he's I think Simon's his conversion rate once he gets to say a quarters or a semis onwards is phenomenal. He's won 7 or 8.
Oh, White's off.
7 or 8 IPA titles. He's won an awful lot. It's batting off there, and these aren't too difficult for Ben. He'll be loving the look of these.
Time running.
We'll take a look at the break again. Look how much movement on all the balls, and the white just gets kicked off by one. And that's the danger that you sometimes have to live with having a big break. When you've got so much movement and they're flying around everywhere, you do open yourself up to that. Absolutely nothing Simon Wall can do about that.
Yeah, you've effectively got, I suppose, more bullets. You know, more bullets just going around the table, than they can all take your white ball out. And yeah, it'll feel harshly done by. It was a good break from Simon, and that's the luck element playing its full part. Yeah, so Ben's elected to go yellows. So with his free shot, he can do what he wants with his first shot. He's played the red onto the yellow. 2 things he's done there. He's actually put the red in a fairly safe position, but he's also opened his what was his problem yellow up. So this is now a fairly easy finish. The black's the biggest problem.
I mean, I'll already be thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, he'll want to... So I think we'll see him play the yellow at the bottom of the table last. We'll see him play that as his last ball. And he'll want to make sure he doesn't leave himself straight. And then he'll just come above the red that's next to it, and he'll play the black into the right middle pocket.
Mentions in the first game with Craig Marsh, lovely fluid cue action, and Ben Davis almost from exactly the same school in that sense. Very unique. Almost looks like he was born with the cue in his hand. It's like an extension of his body. You'll see he always starts really low on the ball and doesn't really set a shot up. It's very natural. Doesn't take much time with his hand on the table.
Natural's the word. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. It is just such a natural cue action from Ben. It doesn't look like he's ever thinking about, how...
That shot there, for example. Awkward cueing, 3/4 of the length of the table, and his hand was on the table for about a second.
Yeah, it just doesn't trouble him at all. You see, he's gone a little bit differently about it, as Al suggested. if he's straight, I mean that's a so he's because he was always going to be on this yellow now. Yeah, it's a good shot. He's just in a little bit of trouble. I think originally he may have wanted to go the way I wanted to, but I can see why he's played it. But obviously, given that he's nudged the black out, because the black didn't go into either of the corner pockets and it now does, it's just he's ended up with a sort of slightly trickier black than he wanted. I fully expected to get it though. Doesn't look comfortable, does he?
Well, this for the frame. And was it ever in doubt?
No,
Great Ben Davis.
champions don't miss those.
Yeah, great shot from Ben Davis. That's a really good clearance. It's a reverse dish for the world champion. A little bit of a shake of the head. I don't think he was too happy with how he left the tariff of that last shot more than anything else.
Well, it was more just it wasn't that difficult to finish once he played his first shot, but he kind of made it more difficult for himself than he was. You see him have a huff and a puff sometimes. You clear up, but you sort of, well, I didn't make that easy for myself.
And there we see the head-to-heads that we've alluded to. Simon Ward has actually got the better of Ben a couple of times since that World Championship victory. And there you see actually how the World Championship final went. It was so to and fro. It really was a titanic battle.
It was, and you see the break there from Ben. The white almost went into that corner pocket. I remember that final. Ben had, I think, 18 or 19 breaks. He didn't pot the white off the break once. Neither of them did, which is so hard. It's 35 to 40 frames a pull. To not make to not pot the white once off the break is just doesn't happen. But
it was freakish, that game at times.
Yeah, and Ben on that in that final, he only had 4 or 5 dry breaks out of about 19, and that really is the reason he won that final. That's a big part of it, because I know Simon had quite a few more dry breaks than Ben, and Ben was chasing Simon for most of it. I mean, the early doors, I think Simon won the first set 4-0, Ben scraped the next. Simon won the next set 4-0 to go 2-1 up. He was always sort of hanging on, and was there when it mattered.
Yeah, and sometimes we've seen with players who've won world titles that sort of the year after they've almost struggled with carrying the moniker of the world champion. But Ben, after an initial first event where I think he himself fully admits that his head wasn't quite right and in it at the Welsh Tour event, he's come back really strongly and put in some good performances. And to be in the final of the European event, which is a huge event, a couple of weeks ago, is just an indication that world title's now just another event to him. He's just back on track.
Yeah, well, Ben, interestingly, is one of the very few players that plays full time for a living, and he made that decision last year. Won a couple of big events last year as well, professional events that you won't see on the recent tournament history. And after having a couple of years off, obviously a world champion, a professional world champion at just 19 years old, you kind of assume that you're going to take over the world kind of thing. But I think pool's one of those sports that's very difficult to be dominant at. So yeah, fell out of love a bit with the game. But as you say, pool's probably one of, if not the fastest growing sport in the world at the moment, certainly in the UK. And it's kind of gone from strength to strength for the last 2 or 3 seasons. And Ben's decided to come back, give it a go, and when someone like him takes this sport as seriously as to go full time for your living, you're not really that surprised when he picks up a world title, because he really is just that good.
He demonstrated there in that frame. He has rattled that off in no time at all. Ben Davis is rocking and rolling here, and he leads the way pretty comfortably in this one. 2 breaks apiece, and Ben Davis leads by 3 frames to 1 as this match will continue after the break. Ben Davis leads Simon Ward by 3 frames to 1 as you rejoin us for the IPA Premier League here on Free Sports. Stephen Jameson and Dan Davey with you on commentary tonight, and Ben Davis will certainly be the happier so far heading into the break. Simon Ward with a couple of errors in his game so far, but he's got the chance to eradicate and forget all about them here as he seeks to go 3-2.
Yeah, nearly went off again. You see him just apologise to Ben there, but that almost wasn't unfortunate because he almost went straight into the middle pocket and hit the knuckle, almost went into the corner. But previously he did get kicked in off, and he'll feel a bit hard done by now because that literally is the difference between this being sort of 2 each and 3-1. But these
Take a look at this spread.
yeah, they've come out pretty good.
I think quite a few of our viewers at home here would fancy themselves to take these out.
Yeah, a little problem area with the yellow and the red closest to each other at the bottom of the table. But I think, you know, when Simon's in full flow, you expect to see him take these out. Simon, he's quite a big guy. You know, he's like 6'3". Oh, where's the white gone? Oh, wow. Oh dear. That is that. Do you know what as well? He's on his bad ball as well. Just to add insult to injury for Ben. The ball that was going to be the tricky one, the one that could see him struggle to win this frame. He's on it now. Oh, that just hurts even more.
Pots the red, but that does count as a skill shot. If you're new to black ball, you can pot any of your opponent's balls as long as you pot one of your own.
Yeah, and he knew he was going to do that. He knew that was the natural angle. So just had to concentrate on the pot, and he was always likely to have a ball on, you know, whether it be a plant into the middle or... That's just a little bit. That's not the best. That's not the best. He didn't want to be awkward queuing. Make no mistake, the yellow that he's closest to right now, he's going to take that as his last ball. So he's going to play the yellow into the bottom right corner as we look at it, up table. He'll leave the yellow into the left middle as his second last ball, second last yellow. Yeah, yellow into the left middle as his second last yellow, and then the yellow into the bottom left corner as his last ball, and that leaves him easy position onto the black, but didn't want to be awkward queuing. I think he's alright though. Awkward queuing again. Yeah, nicely done.
He's got a very, very solid bridge most of the time, and it really comes into play when he's got those awkward queuing moments. You were saying before Simon Ward rudely interrupted you there by nearly going in off that he's a very tall man.
He's a big guy, but looks after himself, goes to the gym. I think he's one of those big, he's up at like 5 in the morning every morning just so he can go to the gym before work.
One of those Navy SEAL type characters.
Yeah, he's one of them, yeah, in bed by 9. But he can eat. He can eat. They were telling me before, right, he once did a 14-inch pizza in less than 5 minutes. Look at him.
Gracious me.
Look. How's he done that?
I reckon me and you could probably give it a good go, but we're not in as good shape.
No, but the thing is, that's how long it takes me normally. That's the problem. This is not too impressive. Luckily, you can't see me at the moment, so...
No, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, but Simon, one of the, probably to be fair, one of the few ball players. I think it lends itself to a bit of a lazy lifestyle, you know, pub pool and sort of thing. But yeah, Simon, one of the players that really does look after himself actually, and but ironically, he eats like a horse.
There we see what we're playing for tonight, the Premier League trophy.
3 frames to 2. Time running.
With it being a new event and with it containing the standard of players that it does, I think it's sort of captured the imagination a little bit on the tour, hasn't it? All of these players really, really want to be the first to win it. There's a lot of bragging rights associated with this competition already, but the sort of banter between the players is flying around after every night of the tour. Those who aren't playing are watching every Wednesday to keep up with it, and it really has sort of taken off a little bit amongst the players here.
Yeah, we had it last week after the matches, didn't we? And Ronan was winding up Liam about his break, you know, saying he should hit them a little bit harder. You know, they're really trying to get under each other's skin. They're straight at each other, you know, and there's a, there's a little group on a social media group we've got, and Simon Ward was straight on there because Ronan missed a chance to win to beat Liam Dunster 5-3 last week, and Simon was straight on there within minutes, saying, honestly, didn't let him breathe, just didn't even let him straight within minutes. Yeah, Ronan didn't fancy the 3 points tonight, didn't fancy the 5 easy yellows and a black. Straight in there, straight at him. Oh, yeah, they get on well, but it's it's all friendly as soon as they get off the table. Simon is, he nicknamed the Boomerang. You're going to see a 3-1 down and a 5-3 win like we did in the first match.
It's quite possible. If you pick any player on the tour to do it, it'd probably be Simon Ward.
Just renowned for it. He's got that stickability, you know, he just doesn't go away. He'll pounce on your mistake, he can be behind, he can be looking like he's dead and buried, and he just seems to find something. He's tried to top that free, he's just underhit that a little bit because he's playing this into the corner, and this is tough, this is a tester. He's played that really, really well. It's a great shot from Simon Ward. I asked him what his favourite food was, Simon, and he said everything.
Not picky.
Not picky. Everything. He didn't even hesitate though. Didn't even hesitate, he just said everything.
Well, he's gobbled up that frame all right.
Oh, that's bad.
No doubt about that. Ben Davis can only sit on and watch, and we're all square. It's 3 apiece, which
Square again, yeah.
does mean that we will play our 4 allotted 8 frames in this one. It will be 5-3 or 4-4. And both players are keeping things close. And when the league table is so close as it looks like it's going to be, then frame difference could come into it. And we have actually seen one of the most common results has been 5-1. Both of these, I think Simon's taken a couple of 5-1 defeats actually so far in this Premier League, and if they can keep the matches close, it might stand them in good stead further down the line. You never know.
Yeah, they just don't want to. You don't want to be detached from the pack early doors, and like we said before, you probably want to be aiming for maybe at least 4 points. You know, winning a draw each night. We saw Jimmy Carney last week just take a massive leap up the table with 2 wins and got his 6 points, which I think only Farnsworth's done so far.
Goodness me,
What
that's a hammer of a break.
Gee, that's a humongous break.
He's very nearly gone enough. Watch the white here, straight off the pack. It cannons into the jaw of the pocket.
Yeah, but what
So nearly a bad break, but
power.
yeah. You can take a look at the spreads, and this is all set up to be 4-3. And this is what we thought we might see from these two. They have both got such good breaks that we almost thought this could go straight through 4-4, no questions asked, home for tea in 20 minutes, but it's not quite worked out that way.
No, and I think it's just, this kind of sums up Paul really. You know, Ben's 3-1 up, and we go to an advert break, come back. Ben hasn't made a single mistake, and he's looking like going 4-3 down, and all he's done is broken once. But you know, Simon, he don't get me wrong, he won't be surprised. He'll be annoyed. He'll be sat there fuming, wanting to get his hand on the table. But that's just Paul. That's just the way it is. And Simon's done that to so many people before in the past. Probably done it to Ben quite a few times. I know they
Checked out that.
Yeah, they've practiced together tons over the years, and I think you see it a lot with these Welsh players. They all play a very similar game, but it probably does help so much when you've got each other to practice with. But they're kind of all, I don't know, clones of each other in a way, in a strange way. They all play a very, very similar game.
Yeah, I know from speaking to Simon, he didn't take the World Championship final defeat too hard, because I don't think there's anyone he'd rather have lost to than his good pal Ben Davis.
Yeah, it sounds silly, but you know, if it could lose to anyone, it'd probably be Ben. You know, not that he'd ever want to. Has he left that slightly awkward queuing? Slightly awkward queuing. Don't expect him to miss this, but this is missable. Good shot, great shot from Simon. Yeah, that was literally a 10 out of 10. Had he not just landed close to that red, he just had to bridge slightly awkwardly over it. But see, in no time at all, from 3-1 down to 4-3 up in what, 10 minutes?
If that, it's flown by. Here we see the tournament statistics. This is what it was heading into the match, and yet there you see that Ben Davies' break in this competition so far has been electric. In particular,
Was that just one dry break? That's madness. That's
I must
madness.
hear the jealousy in your voice, Dan.
Gee, I'm disgusted. I hate him. Honestly, any pool player, they see that, they hate his guts. Honestly, it makes you sick. But do you know and this doesn't make you like him anymore. He doesn't even get down to the shot. You know, he just gets down and just lamps it. As we see a dry break. No, we shouldn't. But no, he's got a great break. But he's thought about it. He knows how important the break is. So that's his style. He breaks almost as if he's given up on the break and just thought, do you know what? I've tried everything. I'm just going to whack him.
It's a unique style, isn't it? It's almost as if he, in terms of stance and the way he angles the cue, it's almost as if he's got a 3-inch dolly into the middle pocket to end a game off. It really is that simple. He half stands and really gets his cue through it.
Just stands and delivers and just...
But the timing of it, that it's not necessarily... It's easy to sort of go on about the power and the battering ram style of the break, but what makes these breaks so powerful is the timing through the cue ball. He hits them bang on.
He does. That's a great first shot from Simon. A bit unlucky there not to be on a yellow now, but I think he's got a plant into this bottom left corner. But yeah, he does. Yeah, it's almost as if, and make no mistake, he isn't doing that because he has given up on the break. That is the way that works for him, and he has got one of the best breaks in our game. Definitely top 5 of all the breakers. Just a consistently huge break. But one of the theories that that's a really... Oh, wow, that is a great shot. That is a great shot, and that's just... I say it's not been rewarded, but I think he's got an angle to play this yellow into the top left and screw into the yellow, which he's just broken out, but ironically just put it back safe straight afterwards. See, if it had just stopped there, it goes. Now, I don't think it does. Yeah, we see he's gone into it again. That is some... Oh, now the black's safe.
He's having to solve...
a day off.
He's having to solve so many problems that he's accidentally making for himself here.
We can see now.
He's playing some incredible shots, but with each one that he plays, he's making himself a new problem. He's been very unlucky.
He has. He's going to play the yellow into the top right corner now, and he's going to try and flick the red and the black on the way back up as well. In doing this, is he going to put the black next to the yellow? No. This would be some finish from Simon. I mean, these weren't on when he came to the table. They just weren't on. That's what you get with these players, though. They're so exciting, they just go for it. It's not, was it the right thing to do? It probably wasn't even the right thing to do to go for him, but he's gone for him, and he's 3 balls away from winning this match. 5-3 from 3-1 up, and Ben is just going to have had 2 break shots. That will destroy you. That will be so hard to take. Needs to mind the red on the way back up, so I think we're going to see him play this with lots and lots of side spin. We are. Needs to slow up. Do you know what? I think that's perfect. I think he can play this yellow into the corner and just rest on the red that's next to it and leave himself a simple 8 ball into the middle pocket. This is some performance from Simon. 3-1 down, 5-3, and your opponent's just had 2 whacks.
Yeah, we saw exactly the same story in the first game with Craig Marsh and Neil Raybone, but Craig did have shots in the second half of that match. He won't particularly thank us for mentioning that because it didn't quite work out for him. But Ben Davies has had 2 shots, they've both been breaks, have come up dry, and Simon Ward has taken 3 points off him. Wow. As easy as that.
What a performance. What a performance. That I don't think we've seen that all Premier League so far. 3-1 down, and he's won, two matches in a row. We've seen somebody from 3-1 down win 5-3, but not in the same way that Simon's just reeled 4 frames off in 15 minutes? 4 clearances from the break. Amazing.
Fantastic performance from Simon Ward. He's looking to get his hands on that trophy. He's still got a long way to go until he can lay claim to it, but that's what he's after. It was a terrific performance from Simon Ward, who takes the win over Ben Davis by 5 frames to 3. We've got more wonderful pool action on the way. Do stay with us. It's next. Welcome back to Solihull Free Sports Premier League 2018, live here on Free Sports. We've just seen Ben Davis get a beating from Simon Ward. That's happened a couple of times over the last few months. And the two players who've been defeated so far tonight go head-to-head here in Solihull. Craig Marsh threw one away in many ways against Neil Rayburn. He should have had a draw. In the end, he got a defeat after a bemusing black ball miss. Ben Davis did not have a shot to stop Simon Ward going from 3-1 down to 5-3 up.
No, and it's not often you see that, especially in this format. I don't think we've seen it at all. Literally 4 frames back to back, 15 minutes, 3-1 up, cruising, 5-3 lost. I know he's got to go straight back on against Craig. Tough score. See, Ben's won the leg.
And in many ways, it's probably something he's quite looking forward to, because he can just put that out of his mind straight away and just get straight onto this one. One thing that'll be important here for Craig is, we mentioned earlier that he was really beating himself up at the end of the match that he lost to Neil. He has to have put that out of his mind by now. Can't still be thinking about that, because a player as good as Ben will really punish any sort of...
Yeah, you've got to be resilient in this game, because there's so much luck involved anyway, and you know, sometimes it's impossible to play well because you'll break and they go awkward all the time, you know, so you've got to be resilient, and I think that's one of the things we're talking about Simon. He's so good at that. He's so good at turning matches around. Funny enough, we mentioned his nickname, the Boomerang, and he's 3-1 down, wins 5-3 in literally 15 minutes, and he is as resilient as they come. Craig probably hasn't been, you know, maybe that's not one of his key attributes really, to say he's ultra resilient, but needs to show it here.
That's not come out easy. It's not come out easy for Ben here. He's got a couple of problems to solve from his break. And there's another gigantic break from the world champion. And he's got a couple of reds that are tied up to the top of the table. And in doing so, a couple of problems to solve.
Yeah, that was the first one, and that was played really, really well.
He's played it brilliantly.
A little bit unlucky that the yellow's covered the red, but I think we may see him take this red now into the corner. Bit of a thin cut, definitely missable. But if he gets this, it should be 1-0 Ben. Big shot, because all those yellows are hanging as well. They're waiting, they're begging to be potted. Nicely done from Ben, it's a really good shot. He's got really obvious roots, so he's going to go. Going to take this red in the middle as his second last ball. He'll leave the red in the bottom left corner as his last ball. We don't just need to. He wants to get good on that, because he's going to have to play that, you know, with a little bit of screw, just to come back up table. So he's got the perfect angle, just to land nicely on it. This should be 1-0 to Ben. Really nicely cued.
It will be 1-0 to Ben Davis, who, after not really having a shot for the last 4 frames of his match against Simon Ward, all of a sudden made that look very, very simple, like he'd never been away. He's played really well tonight. That loss will irritate him, but at the same time, he will know there's not a huge amount that he could have done about it. Craig Marsh, likewise, will know that from that opening frame, as he will break for the next one. Ben Davis, a player of enormous pedigree, playing really well, getting to the final of the European Open, where he was defeated by John McAllister. He's on a bit of a roll himself in the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, I think you see that the quality of the Premier League there, where you see some of the players there that, you know, John McAllister in particular, Greg Batten, Toby Bolt's we see him in the Champions Cup play really, really well. So many great players that aren't in this Premier League. Jordan Sheppard, who recently won the I think professional event of the weekend.
Yep.
Not in this. Jack Whedon, former world champion, not in this. Clint Ianson, former, I think, professional #1, not in this. The amount just goes to show the strength of depth, really, when you see the players that aren't in it. See a dry break from Craig.
Yeah, and his reaction there maybe said a little bit of a story as well. It was sort of a, yep, that's how my night's going.
Yeah. He wears his heart on the sleeve, Craig, and he won't be afraid to show his emotions. He's not left anything easy for Ben, though. Just you see Ben taking as much time as you'd ever see him take on any shot here. What's he looking at? Is he looking at a plant? Oh wow, what a shot this is. He's looking at the plant to break out his bag. What a shot. It's not an exhibition, Ben.
He does enough of them, but I think
he does.
I think he's forgetting that at this point. That is a heck of a. This isn't straight.
That's a horrible shot. Do you know what? I didn't want to call the shot because I thought I'd sound stupid. He gets down, he plays it. That's ridiculous.
That's such a good shot from Ben. His shot clock's ticking here. He has to play this.
No, he's landed really unlucky. He's actually not on anything. That's a great shot. He's had to bend that. That was a really, really good shot from Ben.
Well, that's his nickname, of course. Bending
Davis, yeah. Craig Marsh has got a very original nickname.
Oh, aye.
Marshy. Marshy. He's got to do better than that, hasn't he?
That's simple, effective, to the point.
When he went to South Africa for one of the World Series, they called him Marshmallow. That was his nickname out there. And he embraced it, he loved it. They absolutely loved him. They're mad for their pool in South Africa. And Morocco too. This a World Series event in Morocco. And the players were literally, it was as if they were, they actually felt proper famous, if you know what I mean. They didn't pay for a drink all weekend. You come with me out. The Black Ball pool in Africa is actually huge. See, Ben, this is such a tough clearance. I mean, he's still got plenty of work to do here.
He's played it so well so far. You're almost at this point rooting for him because you'd love to see the clearance this Tariff go.
Yeah, just such a. He hasn't been in position once, but that's because the clearance just wasn't on. But he's almost there.
You mentioned that he doesn't like playing a safety shot.
Oh, and he missed them.
Always playing attacking, and he's missed maybe the easiest shot of the clearance so far.
Yeah, just took his eye off it. What it was, he was playing that with so much side spin, left-hand side, to try and straighten that up, that he took his eye off the pot. He was too worried about not running into that yellow on the side cushion. It's his first missed pot of the night, even though he lost his first match.
Yeah, he's been in really rude form so far tonight with Ben. And this is where Craig's really got to zone in and punish this mistake. Because if this can go 1-1, he's not had it all his own way at all in his last sort of half an hour at the table, as it were, over the last two matches. And all of a sudden, if he can nail this fairly straightforward clearance, it will make him feel a whole lot better.
Yeah, he needs it. He needs this finish, and the way he finished the last match. And both of these players coming into this match having lost their last 4 frames. So it's for the one that goes behind, I mean, it's just going to feel like the night's getting worse and worse.
Really does say so much about the way that Ben Davis plays, the fact that he took that clearance on. Because there's really not many players, I don't think, who would have even attempted to start there and continue all the way through.
Exactly, and that's why he's one of the best players in the world, and certainly one of the best exhibitionists as well. You see him when he's just showboating. Imagine what he's like when he's showboating.
I think we saw it with that first shot in this frame.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's Craig Marsh who takes it. It was a really tough clearance for Ben Davis, and all credit to him for even attempting it, as we say. But it doesn't quite work out for the world champion, and Craig Marsh gets a frame on the board. He stops the rot, and a little smile plays round the face of Marshy, which is nice to see. He's been beating himself up a lot in the last sort of half an hour, and he's back at it here.
Yeah, interesting. He got beat by Ben Davis at the last tour event just 10 days ago, 10 or 11 days ago now. So a defeat to Ben, a fairly decent one as well. I mean, it wasn't really that close, 7-3. That's fresh in the memory. And you wonder if that's going to play in his mind.
Well, he did have a generally pretty good weekend. To get to a semi and a quarter over the course of one weekend is really not easy to do. As Ben goes in off the break and opens himself up here.
He's gone in off the break, but the black's gone in as well. You see, Ben was just about to walk back to the to his seat, and they noticed the black went in, and he said, no, I'll stay. I'll hang about.
You lucky man, Ben Davis.
Yeah. The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh. The white shouldn't have gone in the corner. It shouldn't. He got bashed in the corner. That's fine. I'm happy with that.
Instant karma, some would say.
Instant, yeah.
But just going back to the point, it is rare that a player has such a good run in both events over the course of a weekend, because it's so draining getting to the end of one, to then do it on the next day and get far in another. It's quite rare, actually.
Yeah, not so much physically draining, it's just mentally draining, you know. I suppose it can be physically draining because they're late nights. They can be late nights, and sometimes you'll if you do get to a final, you know, you might not be after the buzz as well of being in the final or winning an event. You may finish the match at 12:30, 1, something like that, but you're not asleep till 3. You know, you're buzzing, your phone's going mental with messages and stuff, and then you got to get up and play the pro event at 10 in the morning. You know, you're still sort of glazy eyed, and it is. I don't think anyone's ever done the double.
Yeah, there's good reason for that, as Ben Davis opens his next break with another plant.
Yeah, he's showing off. He's just in show-off mode. I think these yellows the yellows would have been absolutely fine had he not covered the yellow that's see the yellow glued to the red now. He's going to try and break it out now. Oh, he's just missed it. Unlucky. He's going to have another chance though. Whether or not it goes into this bottom left corner pocket if he gets behind it, I don't know if it does. I think he's come around to have a look at it now. Maybe. I think if he gets just above it, he'd have to be perfect with his white ball, but it's just above it. Maybe he can play that. And again, another tough finish, but these rules, they're so attacking, you kind of feel like you haven't got much choice sometimes, because against someone like Craig, you know, it's hard to play a safety where you kind of know you're going to get another shot. And
it does play into someone like Ben's hands, the rules of black ball. It encourages attacking play, and it encourages players like Ben Davis to stroll around the table and fire them in off all angles.
Yeah, we see it definitely does go, and this is a big shot for Ben. He's
missed
it.
Would you believe it?
He's missed it, and he's fuming. He is not happy with that at all. He's in it miles too thick, and that's why the white didn't get across table, because it was too much angle. Had he achieved the potting angle, the white would have come further across, because he was hitting thinner on the red. But Craig's back in again, and 2 frames in a row where Ben's looked like taking out a tough finish, to be fair, and Craig's in to mop up the pieces.
Yeah, tough finish, no doubt about it.
Yeah, the pot wasn't tough.
Yeah, it's a little bit less forgivable than the first one, I think.
Yeah, he'd done a lot of the hard work. The pot wasn't tough. It was just all about getting good position on that last ball. And as we can see there, that red doesn't go. That's next to the yellow. So Craig with a bit of work to do here as well. But he's got balls. He's got balls to go into it from. Now if he can screw back out somewhere towards the centre of the table, that's perfect. Now he's going to play the red into the bottom right corner, and he's going to go straight into this red that's glued to the yellow. This should come out nice.
Just like that.
Yeah, nicely done. I don't know if you can see the red at the top of the table, because ideally he'd like to leave this red in the bottom left until last,
Yeah.
because that gives him easy position onto the black.
Yeah, I think he can see it. Yeah, he's going for it. Fires it in.
He cued it well, but see, this is tough because he doesn't want to be. He wanted to be straight on the red, so then he could just screw back and it was frame over. But I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can hold. I don't think he can. From that angle, it's a bit tough to see. He doesn't want to flick the yellow. Almost flick the yellow. Literally a hair away from flicking that yellow, and then he would have been out of position, and he probably would have put the black safe as well. As it is, he's played it really well, and this should be Craig taking a 2-1 lead.
Played that with an awful lot of drag just to slow that white right down.
Yeah, a really useful shot to play when you're trying to just hold the cue ball, and you see a lot of the top players do it.
Well, it's a lovely clearance from Craig Marsh, who could easily be 3-0 down,
He could, yeah.
but he's 2-1 up.
It's 2-1 up, and he'll be a hell of a lot happier than he was earlier.
Yeah, make no mistake, these two have met recently, and it was just 10 days ago at the in Coventry in the European Open semi-final. Ben going on to lose that final to John McAllister. As I mentioned, Craig had a really good run, where he was eventually knocked out by the whirlwind that was Jordan Sheppard that weekend in the professional event, where he was just absolutely unstoppable for 6 hours.
Yeah, it's just one of those days. We mentioned it about, say, Jimmy Carney last week. Quite a streaky player. You know, you may watch him sometimes and think, well, he's a bit rash, he's a bit erratic, and then other days you just go, wow, how can I play against that?
Exactly that. He's a player that in many ways this competition would suit more than any other. But Craig Marsh can't believe that.
He's hit them so well. That's why I look at that. Really good split. He just looks at the table in disgust. Another dry break from Craig, but another clearance where I think we're going to see Ben for the third frame in a row chase a finish that there's a clearance there, but it's just not easy. I mean, he's got problems, and he's got one of these puzzles that isn't so easy to solve, and that's terrible from Ben. That's terrible.
He knew it straight away as well.
He knew it straight away. He played it with rakes aside. It was the right shot to play. Just didn't get enough side on it. Didn't get that side to react as much as he wanted to, or grip as much off that cushion, because he was trying to go into that bad red and yellow. As it is.
It barely seemed to react at all, did it?
No, he just didn't get into it enough, and or with those as well. I mean, you'd ideally you want to pop that ball thin into the pocket to create a thinner angle, and perhaps he potted it a bit thick into the pocket. I didn't really take much notice, to be honest. It's fairly simple for Craig as well.
Wow, from a position where it looked like Craig Marsh couldn't buy a frame, all of a sudden he might just have had three-handed to him. That might sound a little harsh, because he's had to work well once he's been given the opportunities, but
yeah,
he just wasn't getting those opportunities against Neil.
Yeah, it sounds a little harsh, but it kind of is harsh because, like you say, Ben's come to the table 3 times in a row now. Once off of his own break after making a ball, and twice after Craig hasn't made a ball. And on another day, he'd be left with 2 easy finishes and 1 tricky one. He's just been left with 3 difficult ones, and tough game sometimes. And there's so many variables, it's not. You kind of feel a bit harshly done by sometimes. This is a tester for Craig. I think at 2-1 up, having won the last 2 frames like he has done, I fancy him to get it. Missed it. He's missed it. Missed it by a way as well. Ben straight out of his chair. Never seen him move so quick.
This was missable, as you said. He's playing with a lot of screw. And it just goes gun barrel straight into the jaw, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was a tough shot because of the pace he had to play it at. You know, if it was just a case of making the pot, then I expect him to get it 9 times out of 10. But it did make it slightly more missable because of the pace he had to play it at. But crucial, and Ben back in now. This is missable. Make no mistake. He's made that look a lot easier than it was. Such a fluent player. He does that all the time. He just floats those balls in as if they are over the pocket. And not to your average Joe, I mean, that's a tough shot. Doesn't get much easier either.
No, even with just 3 yellows left on the table, it's still not simple, is it?
And it's still not, because he's gone over on that side cushion again, and he hasn't got the angle to come down table and get close to either of these last 2 reds. He wanted to be further up table or off of the cushion so he could get good position on the last 2, but he's just running away from it now.
That's about all he could do.
It's just a potting exhibition. This is, I mean, fair play to him if he knocks this in. This is such a tough shot. Made even more difficult by the fact that Craig's yellows are absolute sitters and that he's just missed 2 chances in the last 2 frames. What a shot, Ben Davies. What a finish that is. See, it wiped his feet a little bit there. If he'd have hit it any harder, it wouldn't have gone in. But, well, take your hat off to him. Takes some courage to do that after those last 2 frames.
A big puff of the cheeks as well from Ben Davies. He's had to work really, really hard in the opening session of this match. And a superb performance in the end from the world champ to get through that one. It is 2 apiece as we head into the break here in the Premier League. It's all to play for when we come back between Craig Marsh and Ben Davies. Welcome back to the conclusion of our third match of the night here. Craig Marsh against Ben Davis. The battle of the world champions, the battle of the Welshmen, and the battle of two of the very finest players around is level, 2 apiece, as we enter the second half of this one. We were just discussing in the break there, Dan Davey, it could so easily be 4-0 Ben Davis here.
Yeah, it could, yeah, but it, like, say harsh sometimes, but he hasn't. It's not like he's missed anything easy. He's just chased 2 tough finishes. He's been in first all 4 frames. Correction, all 5 frames now. He's had first chance, but you know they haven't been nice. They haven't been easy finishes. On another day, yeah, he'd have been 4-0 up. He'd have been, it'd have been full. But it's just he hasn't played badly to miss his 2 chances.
No, he's been disappointed. I think especially disappointed with one of the misses. The other one, you can very, very easily forgive him.
Yeah, he sort of did all the hard work, really. You know, he made a tough finish almost easy, and then messed it up.
What a shot that is!
Oh wow! Now if that goes, see another one though. I mean, let's assume this goes past. The black doesn't really have a pocket, so he's going to need to break the black out. Once he breaks the black
I think
out,
this goes down, and that's a genius little positional shot.
That's a great shot. He knew exactly what he was doing there. He knew he wanted to hit that exactly where he wanted, exactly where he did. Yeah, but
And he had a little bit of a safety as well, because he's got the yellow that's closest to the black spot now, as in case this one on the cushion didn't go, he's got it there. He's having a good look at it. If it does, he'll take it.
yeah, you can see he's having a good look at it. He hasn't got a full pocket, so he's wow. Well, I might take that back. Actually, he must have had a full pocket to ram it in there at that speed. That was ridiculous. Great shot from Ben, and he's out. He's nicely out. I don't know what he's just saying to the ref there.
He's really jammed it in. He's just asked for his extension.
No, I think he's looking for a rest. He's looking for a rest. Being a right-hander, he's being a right-hander, slightly awkward queuing. He's not ridiculously tall either. Yes, you don't really want to be stretching on those, especially. I mean, this shot really is key to the frame. If he can get good position on a yellow after this, it's pretty much frame over. So he's giving this shot the respect it deserves.
Yeah, and when you've got a queuing style so natural as Ben's as well, it doesn't lend itself to awkward queuing, but
Time's ticking.
The use of the rest there, played it really well.
Over on the side cushion, I think that's okay. He doesn't mind leaving himself a plant. That's all right. Just doesn't want to leave himself straight on the next one, because the other yellow is going to come out after he plays the plant. I could just get through. Okay, just get through. So he's looked at the angle. I think he's all right with it. Play the yellow into the left middle, and then just a cut for his last ball. Yeah, I think he's okay. He was just worried he didn't come far enough, but yeah, he's okay now. Not an easy shot. Not an easy shot at all.
Horrible.
Yeah. There's every chance he's running towards this red closest to the middle as at the bottom of our screen. And if he does cannon it, he'll want to cannon it full. He's playing it with side, so he wants to avoid it completely. It makes the pot more difficult, and he has cued that like an absolute dream.
What a shot that is.
What a shot.
If you go back to the very first shot of this frame, that is such a good clearance from Ben Davis.
Yeah.
Such a good clearance.
Really good, and you can't give Ben Davis first visit, 5 times on the bounce and expect to be ahead, and 2 dry breaks from Craig. He should be grateful he's only 3-2 down.
Yeah, he's got a chance to tie things back up and force us to go the distance for the 3rd time in a row tonight. But Ben Davis there is really almost put on an exhibition in many ways, because there was so many missable shots in that clearance.
I think that's when you see the difference in class between Ben, who is a world champion, the very best at the moment kind of thing, and your other really good players. Is the way Ben attacks those difficult finishes. It just makes it makes it look so much simpler than it is, makes it look easier than it is. It's just a joy to watch.
And Craig's made a ball, which is priority number 1, and he's made a couple actually, but it's really not come out too kindly. Look where that white's left itself. I'm not sure if he's got a shot here, Dan.
When it rains, it pours. I feel like this kind of run of the ball's gone against him a little bit. Having had a couple of dry breaks, and when he does finally make a ball, he's faced with a tough opening shot just to be any ball. Wants to be.
He's looking at the yellow up to the top left, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going for yellows, but I mean, even if he gets it, he's still got problems. He took his hand off the cue. It was almost as if he'd missed it, or he thought he'd missed it. He's got the perfect angle. He's played that nicely. Perfect angle to pot the yellow into the top right corner. And dislodge you see exactly where he's pointing the cue. That's where he wants. He wants a half ball contact. But he's still got to come back up table for that other yellow. So.
Oh, has he just about gone far enough?
Nah.
No, he's short.
I don't think he can. You may see him get the rest out and take a swipe at this, but this is tough. I think maybe a cross double into the middle. I don't quite. Craig will know better because he's on the shot, but yeah, maybe a cross double into the middle. He's played it well. It's getting more difficult. They're not getting any easier.
He's really chasing it now, isn't he?
Yeah, good double though. Very good shot to keep himself in the frame.
Quite often, when we watch some of the other players on the tour, some of the ones that aren't so 99% attacking, we always say that when they're chasing a frame, it only gets harder and harder, and eventually they'll miss. When you have these two playing each other, that goes out the window because they're going to go for it no matter what.
Yeah,
but
we call it digging. You're just digging yourself a hole, and you're just digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and eventually you sink.
Well, that wasn't easy for Craig Marsh, but
He's sunk into his chair as well. He's just looks deflated, doesn't he?
it was incredibly tough. But it wouldn't have been a huge surprise to see that go in, and it would have been an incredible clearance. But I think what we like watching, or we like seeing most about these players, is they will go for that. They really do not have any other intention other than cleaning up.
I don't know, but you see, Ben's made this difficult for himself. It's just a little bit unfortunate that when he played the plant, the red didn't stay right over the pocket. So he's having to kind of take a slightly different route to how he... No, and he's missed that as well. Well, this is just going to be a massive frame. This is going to be a massive frame. I mean, it is anyway, but they're even more difficult to get over the line when you've had a mistake each in the frame. And Craig's still got a lot of work to do as well. It's not like he's come to the table with 3 drop-ins left. Needs to be pinpoint with his cue ball. He's got such a small area to land in here. The momentum shifts are just. I mean, there's been 3 in the last 2 minutes. Needs to miss the red. That's a great shot from Craig. Doesn't want to be straight though.
I think he might be.
What do you think? He's just. We're going to see him hit this very, very hard. He can cheek the pocket here.
He's not got a lot of room to hit it that hard.
Hey, he's got a shot. Oh, he's missed it. No, he fluked it. Oh, Ben stayed sat down. He's fluked it. He's wobbled it into the corner and made it into the other corner.
That's incredible.
Oh, wow, what a frame of ball this is.
That is incredible.
How's he done that? That's a joke. It's an absolute joke.
I tell you what, this black is ridiculous.
He definitely gets this.
There we go.
That. He was always getting that after fluking that yellow.
Never in doubt, eh?
Never in doubt.
Well, that reaction, I think, tells you it all. He can't believe it. What a ridiculous frame of pool.
Looks like he's just had some bad news, doesn't it?
Well, he's just had some great news.
Great.
He's had an absolute turn-up there. It's 3 apiece, and that is one of the craziest frames I think I've had in the entire Premier League so far. Both players could have won it, maybe both players should have won it at different points. But Craig Marsh has made it 3-3. We will have the full 8 frames. It will either be a draw or it will be a narrow win for either player. One of the two.
Yeah, 3 apiece. All 3 matches so far have gone 3-all. As we see Ben make a ball again off the
from
break.
Ben.
It's just a great break, isn't it? Just a hammer.
The fact that he's still got the ball being put down in the replay says it all.
Yeah.
Ball down with the hand, one swing back and it's gone. And that's what you come out with. And that is, I think it's safe to say it's a technique that just absolutely can't be taught and wouldn't be taught by any player. To any new player, that's in no way how you break. But it's so weird. It's one of the very best breaks around.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for when you hit them so hard like Ben does. There's an argument that going dry, so the white ball in theory travels a bit too much. Yeah, but with these rules being so attacking and the standard that these guys play to anyway, there's an argument for saying you're just as well going in off the break as you are being dry anyway. So you may as well sacrifice the white for maximum power. And Ben certainly doesn't struggle to get power into the break. Now is he thinking of playing the red off of the yellow? Is he like knuckle first off of the yellow into the corner pocket? If he is, he's perfect. But I don't think that's what he wanted to do. I think he wanted to land on this red into the corner as we look at it.
Shot clock ticking.
Yeah, that's
Needs it to travel.
needed to travel, and he's short. To be fair, it was really close to being a good shot. He was probably only 6 inches short of being perfect, but yeah, in a bit of trouble. And we see a bit of magic from Ben.
Is he looking at a double here?
You never know what he's looking at, to be honest. You just got to sort of call it and hope for the best. I think
Stop that.
he's made it.
Oh.
He'll be all right with that. That's
Yeah,
a good second prize.
And he won't mind it at all because that is one of Craig's pockets. As you can see, the yellow at the top of the table on the cushion is now blocked off and becomes a real problem that now has to be moved or has to be left very late to double.
Well, he's left Craig the angle now to do it, but he doesn't want to go near that middle. Oh, yeah. You see, Craig's going to have another chance to get into it though, because he can drop this yellow into the middle, and then the other middle, top middle as we look at it, he can cut the yellow in the very centre of the table into that middle pocket, take the white off the top cushion, and bump the yellow out from behind. But he's going to need to play it well, and at 3-all, this isn't anywhere near as easy as you'd like it to be.
And he's used his extension.
Okay. So
He's still got the yellow at the bottom of the table to think about as well.
Yeah, it doesn't make it easy, as he's going to play this with loads of bottom left-hand side. Is he?
Where's that white ball?
Oh, he's going to be... well, is he going to be forced into the double? I don't know. Every match so far has gone to the wire. 3 each, every single match. We're going to see our first draw. Forced into the double. The white's going all over the place. He's made the double. Where's the white? Where's the white? Is it off? Oh, what a shot. Oh, he's got on it. It's a tough yellow down the cushion, but he's one of them after that shot. I fancy him to get it now.
It's a really, really good double. This is so difficult.
I think the problem is he needs to go back up table twice. Now, can he cut that in? It's thin.
I think again you can read it in his face just how thin it is.
It is very thin. I don't think it's an impossible cut, but not easy at all. I mean, and the white's travelling. He's got to hit it hard. The white's going all over the place as well. So from there it looks easy. He's made it look easy as well.
Has he
he's
blocked
just
the black
blocked
off?
the black.
Oh, goodness me. He's just about all right. He's got to watch the white ball a bit, but I'm sure he'll
I
be
think-
fine with that.
That's his only problem here, is that the natural angle, the white's going towards that corner, so you may see him just elevate the butt of the cue and jack up a little bit. Makes the pot more difficult, and he's nailed it. It's a great shot. It's a great finish.
What a clearance that is.
Wow.
We're seeing these two players in a weird way. Some bad shots are almost bringing out the best of them.
That's a really good way to put it, actually. It really is. You know, so that's probably the most exciting pool to watch, is when the players aren't playing great, or they're faced with tough finishes from the start and they have to chase it, and naturally the natural instincts and just the way they play in general means they are going to go for it. So, you know, rather than it's better to watch anyway than seeing him just break and leave himself absolute sitters.
Oh, penny for the thoughts of that man.
Yeah, it was 3-1 up in the last match and lost it.
Leading 4 frames to 3.
Doesn't,
Time running.
it will not be won't be a nice car journey home if you. I mean, he's sharing a car with these two as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say that actually.
It's going to be horrible, isn't it? You can't lose 5-3 to the pair of them, and one of those frames, Craig, kind of fluked a little bit as well, to be honest, in the last frame. That's going to be awkward. I wonder who's driving.
I think it's probably Ben if he's lost both.
We might leave him here.
Extension called.
Well, speaking to Simon Ward before the matches started and told me they'd all come up together.
Yeah, they're
I said
both
you,
together.
you should really film the reactions on the way back. He said, yeah, we were thinking about doing a bit of carpool karaoke. You did say Marsh is a bit of a singer.
I tell you what, he has got a voice on him. He's really good. He really is. At the IPA awards, annual awards, he got up and did it wasn't planned. Someone mentioned it, badgered him into it, and he got up and did a full rendition of Bat Out of Hell. I tell you, honestly, he's brilliant though. He's really good at it. I enjoyed it. It's not a short song either.
No.
You see, this is tough. He's gonna. Oh, what a shot! What a shot!
That's brilliant.
That's a great shot. He had a natural angle there, but he's still got to execute it well. And playing the balls at pace into the middles aren't easy. But he doesn't seem happy.
No, he doesn't like it at all, does
Why are
he?
you not happy? What have I missed? I think he's all
Time
right.
running.
They're not easy, of course, but you see him get the rest out as well.
He's spinning the cue ball all over the place in this clearance.
Yeah, now he's in trouble. Now he is in trouble.
Getting from one red to another here is really, really tough.
Well, yeah, he hasn't really got. I mean, if you were to sort of draw an imaginary circle, it has to be. I mean, there isn't really one. You know, he has to get right into the other side of the corner of the table. And, yeah, and he just had to try and play that with so much side. It was just always going to make the pot more difficult. And maybe looking at our first draw of the evening, but there's still a bit of work to do for Ben.
Yeah, Craig did miss a dolly of a black for a 4-4 against Neil Rayburn, and that was a far, far more difficult shot. Almost in a hiding to nothing, really, with that. And that's why he was irritated, because despite playing that really good shot to open up those two reds at the top of the table, he knew he was always going to chase it after that. Maybe felt he deserved a bit more. He's probably right in that suggestion.
Yeah, we'll see Ben take the yellow lowest of the remaining yellows next, because that then opens the pocket up for the other yellow into this bottom left-hand corner pocket. So we'll see him go up towards the centre of the table. The only thing that can go wrong is the pace on this shot. Doesn't want to underhit it, and he has. He has underhit it. That's poor. I think he can just hold. but it's just made what could have been such an easy clearance. It's now a tricky shot. Oh, he didn't quite like, just about got there.
Well, there's pinching a
Just
pocket,
about.
and then there's that.
Pinching, he punched that. That was horrible. He took the full pocket there. Any harder and that wouldn't have gone in. As it is, I think 4 each, probably a fair result.
Greg Marsh already on his feet. He's going to take a draw home with him after all. So both players avoid the wooden spoon for the night. Both came in with a defeat. They leave with a point. For both players, it could well have been 6. For both players, it could well have been 0 from the action tonight, which I think sums up the Premier League so far. We've got our final match of the evening. Simon Ward takes on Neil Raybone. And that is next. Welcome back to Solihull. Final match of the Premier League tonight as Simon Ward takes on Neil Raybone here on Free Sports. Stephen Jameson and Dan Davey with you to take you through the final game of the night. We've seen 3 games go the distance in terms of frames. 5-3, a 5-3 and a 4-4 draw. These two have won their opening games of the night. Is one of them going to go away with 6 points? It could be massive for the league table.
It could be. They're busy having a face-off at the moment. Who can sort of look most miserable? The two of them. Look at them just sat there. The last game of the evening.
Final game of the evening between Simon Ward and Neil Raybone.
Need these points. Both got that sort of they just sit there. They don't like to show, nothing. They're just quite calm characters. They're both probably two of the most placid guys in the Premier League, really.
It's similar to what you said earlier, that you complimented them both individually in terms of their temperament and their mentality. It's one of their biggest strengths.
They just sit there, and to be fair, I sort of try and do the same myself. Just sit there, try and get in your little bubble. If people are looking over at it, they probably think, "Why is he so miserable?" You're not miserable. You just sat there. You're in your bubble. You're trying to focus. You're just staring at the table, trying to block everything else out.
Well, here we take a little look at the league table. This is up to date. So Ben Davis is up to 8 points, but he has played 6, so he's got every opportunity to be in the next couple of weeks.
Well, he could get jumped tonight if either of these two win. Neil or Simon, he'll be hoping for a draw here, because either Neil or Simon wins, they go a point ahead of him with 2 games in hand. So Ben, although in second place at the moment, given that he's played more matches, he's not actually in such a good position, to be honest.
Yeah, and either of these two will essentially join Mark Farnsworth at the top of the table. That's a bad break from Neil. Straight into the middle pocket.
Yeah, and look at those yellows. I mean, even the Reds, I'd fancy him to get them.
Well, we can. You might as well rack him up for the next frame here.
Yeah, it's done. Let's talk about something else. He's finished these.
Well, it was interesting, actually, even though Neil beat Craig in the first game of the night, if there was one thing he probably could have improved a little on, it would have been his break. And he just felt that he maybe put a little bit more into that in terms of power. If you look where all the balls are, it's they're spread fantastically well, but the white going straight into the middle pocket shows there was an error there.
Yeah, that's a bad break. Yeah, there's luck. We've seen a couple tonight where they've hit them well, but they've hit them well, but the white's been bumped in off by the balls. That was just a poor break from Neil, and it's going to cost him the first frame by the looks of it.
And if you're wondering why Simon Ward potted a red, then a yellow, he had a free shot first up, so he's just clearing the way by potting that red ball. And he'll now take on yellows.
Yeah, just smart play from Simon. Wanted to be a bit further up table. You see just a little shake of the head there. He's not in trouble, but what was a routine finish, he's now got 1 shot to play. This next shot, which could go wrong. This shot's the last thing that could go wrong here, and he's going to be running towards the yellow in the middle of the table. So
he's changed his mind.
Yeah, bit of experience from Simon, and sometimes I think they use the saying in golf a little bit, you just got to take your medicine and perhaps accept that this is no longer a very easy finish and you've got to play a slightly more, difficult route than you would have liked to have done. And he's not played that very well either. He's playing that with loads of bottom right hand side, wanted to come out, and he's just got too much into it.
We saw that actually in his match against Benny. Early on in the match, he played a screw shot where he screwed it about a foot further than he wanted to, and this is missable.
Yeah, it's not easy at all. That needs to carry on. It hasn't.
Oh, he's really gone chasing this. We said as soon as it set himself up that you might as well re-rack
He's digging
the next frame, but
he's off digging again. He's one of those builders. He's just getting slightly worse. He's slightly more out of position with each shot that he plays, and now to the point where this is really tough. He's playing a plant, is he? No. No, I mean that's. We might actually see some emotion from Simon for a change.
That's a real let off for Neil.
That's really bad from Simon. That's about as. Do you know the half the problem was they were almost too easy, in a way. Sometimes, and I'm certainly guilty of it. You take a finish for granted because you look at the table and you think, oh, these are easy. I'll just knock these 3 and I'll go up table for the other 3. And before you know it, you've slightly run out of position, taken your eye off a pot, and your opponent's back at the table. But that's really poor from Simon.
Neil would have left the table after that break, having gone in off and seen the state of the table.
No, and he's 1-0 down.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Oh, but... Well, he's almost played as a shot to nothing, because look where he's left the white.
Yeah, he has played it as a shot to nothing to an extent. He knew he was going to be leaving the white over towards that corner pocket, and that means that Simon hasn't got anything easy on. I think he snookered, but would have wanted it in because the finish was on.
Oh, I tell you what,
Now,
if
that sticks to the red,
shot.
He's all right there. He doesn't mind that. Oh no, he can't. He can cut that in.
Well, he very nearly cut the yellow in off that swerve shot, and if he'd have potted that and been on this yellow on the on the bottom cushion, would have been one of the shots to the tournament. No doubt that's what he would have had in the back of his mind as he played that it was on.
Yep. We see Neil just come up table, and he's still got a bit of work to do to finish these. I mean, this isn't an easy finish, but you'd rather be at the table than not. But not an easy finish at all for Neil. 2 reds at the top of the table, needs to get perfect on those. The red on the left needs to be got on. You need to be fairly close to that. Played it well, needs to slow up. He's played that perfectly. What we can see as well is his 3 most difficult balls. He's going to take them out one after the other, and they kind of all lead to position to the next one. Doesn't want to be straight. Let's see from his body language, he's all right. I would have liked a bit more angle, to be honest.
You'd have to force it a little bit.
Yeah, he has, and he wanted. This is what I was saying. The pot isn't really difficult, but he wanted to be a lot closer to it. He would have loved to have been in line with the middle pocket. So this makes this a hell of a lot more missable than it was. We need to cue this, because if he misses it, the yellows are sat there.
Shot clock ticking.
It's just about got there.
And you can see there, had it missed, absolutely no way back. But this should be straightforward. Take the first frame from Neil Raybone, a frame that, oddly enough, considering he broke, he had absolutely 0 right to win. Simon Ward will be kicking himself when it's 1-0 Neil Raybone.
Yeah, and in this short format, it really is. They're so much more difficult to take when you've got that easy finish, and
It just means that because of the format being so short, you have to take those opportunities when they're presented to you on a plate like that was.
Yeah, that just makes so much more of a difference.
Totally agree. And you take a look at Neil's recent form. He's in the last 12 months or so, he really has been one of the standout players on the tour by quite a distance, constantly at the latter stages of events. He won the English Open this year as well, beating Mark Boyle. And
again, you look at the players he's lost to: Boyle, Ben Davis, Boyle again, Jimmy Carney, Ben Davis. So 5 of the 7 players he's lost to, of the 8 players he's lost to, are Premier League players.
I think the only one that's a real surprise on there, sorry to cut you off there, Dan, was the Champions Cup performance against Drew there, because he exited in the first round of the Champions Cup, only had 1 night in it, and that was a real shock. As you see Simon go straight in off the break.
Yeah, that's bad from Simon, and Neil straight in again, and well, what a difference 5 minutes makes.
Time running.
Incredible. And that's a mistake as well. He screwed straight into the top corner.
That's just badly hit. That's just, like you say, it's a mistake.
Extension called.
When it rains, it pours. In this game, Neil's just surveying the table and planning his line of attack.
I think he could go either. He could go reds or yellows. You'd still fancy him to get these. But I've given up. I've given up when it comes to sort of saying that this finish is easy, because I've just seen anything can happen.
We've really learnt our lesson tonight,
Yeah,
haven't we?
I just need to the moment you get cocky with it, it just sort of it bites you.
It's been such an unpredictable night in many ways. Just when it seemed that in so many frames we've seen, it looked like we might as well turn the page for the other. Something has just sprung up. It really has changed and altered matches. So many points tonight.
Got a bit of a spring in his step, Neil, as well. He knows how important this is from that first frame. If you can, I mean, they're all important anyway, but it just makes it so much sweeter when you can break and clear against somebody. Just keep them sat down after they've just made a mistake. It feels like it's almost worth double.
Well, in this instance it is. Because Simon going in off the break and throwing away the last frame, that's two big mistakes which should cost him 2 frames.
Yeah, and you kind of feel like it. If he'd have won that first frame, he probably would have hit a better break. Maybe wouldn't have even gone in off. But you still, although he never outwardly really shows that he's frustrated or annoyed with himself, he will be. The challenge is to put it to the back of your mind. You can't hypnotise yourself and stop yourself from remembering that you've played a bad shot, but you just need to, like I say, put it to the back of your mind. And you feel like Simon probably wouldn't have gone in off there had he cleared that first frame. Seems to be the way things go.
How often do we see it?
Just always. That's what I mean. You could
It's
put up a
amazing.
very good argument to say I'm talking absolute rubbish, but it seems to be the way. I bet you go in off more often, after you've made a mistake. I'm sure of it.
It's nothing quantifiable, but it just always seems to be the case, doesn't it?
Yeah, a bit of tension in the arm. Maybe you hit the brake too hard, so you don't time it as well because you're frustrated. There's reasons why it does make sense. We see Neil just making these, like he does so well. He makes the game look simple, makes it look easy.
Well, he's almost the joker in the pack in this little group of players for the Premier League, because he is a slightly different player compared to the 3
Very different.
Welshmen who all have a very attacking, aggressive and almost cavalier style, whereas Neil is more from the Farnsworth, from the McCarthy, from the Dunster school of Paul, where it's clinical, it's effective. He doesn't really have to play difficult shots because his cue ball control's so good.
Yeah, it's textbook from Neil. And we mentioned earlier about Simon with his, world titles as a junior, and Neil had the same. He won like the British championships when he was at under 18s level. Like he's been one of the best players from a very young age as well. So he's got a pool background as such, rather than say like Craig, for example, who has a snooker background. But these two are both pool players from a very, very young age, and I think Neil's a bit more textbook than Simon. Neil's a bit more textbook than, if you were to teach anybody how to play in terms of shot selection, Neil really is your best example. He misses like everybody misses now and again, but he plays, his shot selection is spot on pretty much at all times. When you do that, you just make the game easy for yourself.
It's a much better break as well from Neil. He's connecting really well in this second match. We saw it in the very first break he had. Even though he went straight into the middle pocket, he seems to be really punching into the white in this match.
He's getting more reaction, isn't he, instantly off of that front part of the pack.
Even though he's tight to the red here, he's still got a shot on at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, he's got a shot on yellows. The problem yellow, you can see he's looking at now. If he lands near the middle pocket, can he play the yellow into the bottom right corner? I think he can. So player like Neil, I think we'll probably see him play on it. You know, if you can, I always say, if you can land on a ball, you're better off to land on it and trust the skill rather than bash into it and trust the luck, you know. That's unlucky.
Now, has he got a plan B?
He's going to need one.
Not sure. I think those two yellows to the top left as we look at it block each other.
Yeah, he can play a plant. It's not ridiculously difficult, but it's not easy either. And this cut's not easy. So watch where the white's going. And I've seen this a few times this evening. It's not getting any easier for him. It's a good recovery pop, but not quite the angle he'd have wanted on this yellow. Needs that to keep running, and it has. That's perfect.
It's a really good shot,
It's a
isn't it?
really great shot because he can leave himself the angle now to play the shot I think he originally wanted. Well, he was looking at it at the start of the finish. Is the possibility of leaving the yellow till last into this bottom right-hand corner, and yeah, we're just going to see anywhere near that middle pocket. Obviously, you want to stay away from the middle pocket, but anywhere near there, he's going to leave himself a shot. And when you're 2-0 up, especially when you're ahead in the match, it definitely is the right thing to do to just leave yourself a shot, because you're so much more relaxed about getting it, you know, when you've got a lead. So, he wanted to be closer than that. But 2-0 up, you fancy him a lot more than if he was 2-0 down.
He's eyed it up from every angle. And it's there for him, but it's not an easy shot.
Well, the toughest thing is it's not a guaranteed good position. He's made it. What a shot that is. That's a great shot.
That's superb from Neil
That is a
Rayburn.
great shot. He's had to play it with a bit of stun to come round. He's played it exactly that way as well. He hasn't played to go into it. He's played behind it. It's a brilliant shot.
It's going to be 3-zip.
That's 3-0. What a finish from Neil that is.
He is playing superbly. A man in a hurry. Neil Rayburn goes 3-0 up here against Simon Ward. And the Welshman here could really do with something in this next frame, because if he breaks dry as he did, then he might be in a bit of bother. But we did see these two meet in the semi-final of the World Championships in February, and what a match it was as well. And Simon Ward made a habit of going the distance in his run to the final, and these two went at it hammer and tongs for a long time.
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier, stickability, and Simon was 2-1 down in sets in that match and came back to win it 3-2. And he's going to need another comeback here, and we saw it earlier in his first match from 3-0 from 3-1 down. He did 4 off the break in a row. He's going to need something similar here, otherwise he's could be an early night.
Oh well.
Now that is a bit harsh, but in theory you want to hold the white in the centre of the table. Obviously he did get kicked in off. Neil with a good chance to go 4-0.
He is a little unlucky, Simon Ward. And we did say, I think we used the phrase, one of us used the phrase fairly recently, when it doesn't rain, if it's raining it's pouring when you're a pool player.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening to Simon at the minute. He is very likely here, with the way that Neil's playing and the way the balls are set up, to be heading into the break 4-0 down. And don't forget, Neil's got the next break. We could be seeing a whitewash so easily.
The first whitewash of the tournament.
These are rare, and this is going to come only if Neil does this clearance well.
Yeah, he needs. These aren't as maybe easy as they look to start with. From Neil, that it just needs a bit of figuring out this clearance, but I think these are the types of clearances that Neil's so good at, where it is, they're there, but they just need a bit of, like I say, figuring out. He played a very intelligent first shot there to just open that red up. And now he has kind of mapped his route out. You always want to try and work backwards from the black if you can, as a player, and we'll see Neil just take the red into the right middle, and then the one that he just broke out, and then he's going to come up table for the rest of them. Whether or not he pushes the black out, no, he hasn't. So he'll be playing the black into the bottom right corner, same as where he's playing the red now. So the key to the frame is just going to be his last positional shot to the black.
Neil Raybone's in for a very, very good night tonight if he can polish these off. He's going to guarantee himself a minimum of 4 points. It could, well, it's very, very likely at 4-0 up to be 6.
Yeah, it's,
I know Simon is known as the boomerang, but surely even the boomerang can't come back from 4-0 down.
surely not.
We might have to find out. The way these are set up for Neil.
Well, we see him rattle off 4 frames with his opponent just having 2 breaks in the last match, so we know Simon can do it. But surely he can't do it twice in one night. Surely not. It's a grimace from Neil there. He's not overly happy with it, but he does this a lot. He's okay really. He's not perfect. So the grimace is kind of that he wasn't perfect, rather than he's in trouble.
He's such a perfectionist of a player.
It's exactly what it is. Yeah, he's a perfectionist. He's got a table in his house, Neil. Had for a couple of years, like we were saying. I think he works from home as well sometimes. So he's probably got more time than most. You wonder what he does on his lunch break.
Yeah, could be one of those inverted commas at times as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he works from home, puts loads of effort in on the table.
Easy black for 4-0.
Wow, what a performance this is from Neil Raybone, who races into a 4-0 lead. Mentioned he's a man in a hurry. He is 1 frame away from taking all 6 points from a very successful night in Solihull. This match will conclude when we come back. Simon Ward, they call him the boomerang. He's going to have to come back from a very, very long way away here. He trails 4-0 to Neil Raybone. Welcome back to the IPA Premier League here on Free Sports. That's what we're playing for. And Neil Raybone at the minute is putting himself in prime position to be able to compete for it at the end of this competition. A win here against Simon Ward would put him joint top of the Premier League table after 4 games. And he is in the best possible position to do it. Although Simon Ward will get a chance to defend and to get himself a frame on the board.
Well, yeah, he wants to avoid the first whitewash of the league, and nicknamed the Boomerang, like we've mentioned a couple of times. We saw exactly why in the first match of this evening. Can he do it again? Surely not. Surely you can't win 4 on the bounce again. Mind you, it only took him about 15 minutes last time. If he can see that first red, that's a result. If not, he may be playing the yellow onto red. Yeah, he's played the yellow onto the red. He's just about got there. Did the white come out? Oh, just about okay. Just about okay. And he's got the finish on. Start of the comeback, maybe.
He'll be hoping so. And you can see these reds really are out in the open for him.
Fairly easy finish, all the balls go. I think the only... That there was probably one of the most difficult shots he's going to play, just jacking up a little bit.
But we did see Simon waste a very similar opportunity to this in the very first frame of this match.
By gosh, did he get punished.
He did indeed.
He would have been punished like that for a long, long time.
It's
1-0 down.
It's usually Simon putting out performances like this against others. You mentioned earlier on in his match against Ben that he'd done it to you, where he was 5-0 up when you played 2 shots. Lest you forget that incredible Premier League game where he played Simon Webb and beat him 6-0 in the final of that night. And
The
Simon
first
Webb
5
played
were all off the break, weren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's mad. He
played 1 shot in open play, did Simon Webb in that game.
Yeah, I think it's one of them. When you get a reputation for doing it, it kind of just gives you that sort of deep down belief, that
Bit of a feeling of invincibility.
Yeah, you've done it so many times before. You know that you can come back from. But do you know what? He's kind of doing the same as what he did in his very first finish of this match. He had a fairly easy clearance, and he's just sort of running out of position again because I don't think this red goes into the bottom right corner, and he needs that to carry on going or slow up. Again, just chasing this finish, this clearance, because I don't think the red I've been wasting my breath if it does, but I don't think the red goes into the bottom left corner. It certainly doesn't go into a hole pocket. If it did, he'd have played it now. Needs that spin to kick in. Ooh, that's slightly awkward cueing.
It's just about okay. He was a millimetre there off nestling in between those 2 yellows and been snookered.
Yeah, look, this frame's not over because he's going up towards that yellow. Oh, he's playing it in the corner. Played it in the top left corner. That's a great shot from Simon. Great shot from Simon, and the comeback is on.
Well, he's avoided the whitewash, and that's for certain. He gets his first frame on the board, and he's breaking the next one. So it could so easily be a slightly more respectable scoreline in no time at all, really.
Yeah, and we say obviously about how good his temperament is and how he puts the mistakes out of his mind. He'll also have it fresh in his memory of what he did in the last match, and it will give him confidence. It will give him that sort of bit of inner belief that, well, as long as I get 3 chances, so he's relying on, the break and a bit of luck from the break both ways of his and Neil's. But as long as he gets the luck and gets 3 chances, he'll know he can take them. And he's not as big an outsider as you might think to scrape a draw here. Huge break. Been off the first 2 and he's hit that really well.
Is he going to come up dry, though?
I think he's dry, yeah. Didn't see many of them from Simon.
Wow. He can't believe that. You can tell with the way he's cued that. Watch this white ball. It goes almost straight back on its spot.
Yeah.
He's concentrated so hard on cueing that well.
Yeah.
And then to not pot a ball must be devastating.
Yeah, 3 breaks, and 3 times Neil's come to the table immediately afterwards.
Extension called.
And whenever you do that against an opponent like Neil Rayburn, you're just not going to win the match,
No, you're not.
especially over this short format. You really get so little margin for error.
And I think his problem is both reds and yellows. I'd fancy Neil to get them. He's opted for yellows. Not the easiest finish he's ever going to have, but they all go. He doesn't have to break anything out or play any nudges or cannons. And I think these are the finishes that Neil does best, really. You know, where it's just tight cue ball control, picking balls off one after the other, not having to break into things, trust to luck. This is where Neil's at his very best. It's a master at the way he just that he controls the white ball, and it just makes the game so much easier for himself. And take that into, couple that up with the fact that he pretty much, like I mentioned earlier, he plays every shot right. Whether it be a safety, where's the white gone? Oh, he's at the knuckle. That is so lucky.
When your luck's in, your luck's in.
That's
Goodness
mad.
me. You can see Simon's face as well in the background
he's
there.
Laughing.
He thought that was in.
He thought that was in. Do you like to put the kiss of death on people?
Yeah. The boys did say they'll be listening to this back, and they'll be having a few words with you, I think.
See Neil, though, he's still got a plan B. He can go about the finisher a couple of different ways if he wants to. Obviously, he'll be working backwards from the blackie. He is taking this one now, so we'll see probably the last ball that he plays will be the yellow over the left middle. It's going to have to be, because he's not on it. So we'll see him try and leave it fairly straight into the middle pocket so that he can just play it with topspin and go over to the gap between the reds so he can play the black into the middle pocket, the bottom middle, as we look at the table from the overhead. So you'll see it just top it through, all about the pace. There's nothing fancy. Just don't overhit it, don't underhit it, leave yourself a shot. He doesn't want to leave it into the corner. I don't think he's got a full pocket, if at all. Maybe he has.
He's jammed it in. Looks like he's going into this bottom right.
Well, he definitely hasn't got a full pocket because he keeps getting down and looking at it, so...
That's how you know, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is there, though.
Other players would have played that in the middle, but expect him to get this. For the match, it's there. 5-1, Neil Rayburn.
Terrific performance from Neil Rayburn that, and he joins Mark Farnsworth at the top of the Premier League table. What an impressive night it's been from Rayburn, who takes 6 points out of matches with Craig Marsh and Simon Ward. That is a good night by absolutely anyone's chalk.
Yeah, and we said it last week, didn't we, with Jimmy Carney, what it can do for you, just boosting you up the table, getting 2 wins, and 6 points on one night is going to... Like we say, the draw only gives you 1 point. If the draw gave you 2 points, it wouldn't be as important, but making sure you do get the win and the full 3 points, if you can get 6 on a night, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what makes it through. What makes top 4 at the end of this table, whether it is going to be 1 point a match, whether it is going to be 1.5 points a match, what sort of tally you need to get to. But Neil, well on the way. 4 matches in, 9 points.
Yeah, you can't do too much better than that. Simon Ward with good and bad news from this night here in Solihull. As we take a look here at what is still to come in this Premier League of Pool. What a magnificent competition it's been. And next week we've got some really, really good games. Mark Farnsworth has now been joined at the top of the table. He's got a chance to stretch back his lead again. He's in action next week against Gareth Hibbert and Liam Dunster. And Mark Boyle is also thrown into the mix as well. First time we've seen Mark in a little while. He's the only one left on 2 games played, so he's got his work cut out against Liam Dunster and Gareth Hibbert to get himself climbing the table in the Premier League. That's coming up next week. We are in Washington, up in the northeast. Mark Farnsworth quite literally on home turf there in his own club as he welcomes 3 of the best around to come and take him on in the Premier League. We can't wait to join you then. Thanks for joining us this week. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.